Good evening. Hope everybody had a wonderful Mother's Day. This is the Dania Beach City Commission regular meeting, Tuesday, May 14, 2019. It is 7:10 p.m. Can you please call the roll?
Mayor Llewellyn.
Here.
Vice Mayor Odman.
Here.
Commissioner Brandemart.
Here.
Commissioner Harris.
Here.
Commissioner James.
Here.
City Manager Garcia. Here. City Attorney Ansbro.
Here.
Thank you.
Can you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. And can we also please have a moment of silence for those we've lost? Thank you. Next item is presentations and special event approvals. The first item is City Manager commendations to public service employees.
Thank you. Good evening, Vice Mayor, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, special guests and residents and staff that are here with us today. One of the things that make us a great city is the things that we do and the services that we provide for our residents. And we're doing that 365 days a year, pretty much 24 hours a day. And once in a while, great things happen behind the scenes where employees really go above and beyond the call of duty. We had 5 individuals in our public services department that were deployed as an emergency to go deal with a really badly broken big part of our sidewalk in one of our residential areas. We had a resident call basically that there was an emergency situation that could have led to possible injury, possible lawsuits. So we deployed a team of 5 individuals. Now, mind you, these individuals are dealing with the day-to-day operations of the city. Long story short, 2 of these individuals are here. Within a period of 2 hours, they were able to get everything completed, and you would have never known that we had an issue that could have really caused a really bad accident. And I wanted to commend them and make sure that we recognize them and that we put this in their file and let them know that even though they're behind the scenes, that without them, we couldn't be the great city that we are. So I'd like to bring up Richard Rodriguez and Murray Steiner that are here with us today from Public Services. And Mayor and Commission, if I can have you guys come down and take a photo with these gentlemen. But Murray and Richard are really doing amazing things, and we couldn't be the great city that we are without you guys. I do want to put it on the record for the other 3 gentlemen that are not here this evening that will be getting their accommodations tomorrow. We also have Donaldo Manzano, Gregory McNeil, and Frank Perez. Thank you, team. Thank you for all you do every day. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Our next item is Dania Beach Chamber of Commerce update by Randy Shane.
The baby's crying.
And Pat Chuckerman.
Good evening. Randy Shane, CEO, Executive Director of the Chamber, and Pat Chuckerman, President of the Dania Beach Chamber of Commerce. Good evening, Madam Manager, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. Thank you for inviting me to come before you. First time in 7 years. Yeah, this is exciting. I would like to thank all of you and the city for your generous and continued support of the Greater Dania Beach Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber has had several successful events in the community this year, including our annual Health Expo at Meadowbrook Condominiums, in the newly renovated clubhouse. Some of you attended that ribbon cutting, thank you again. Between buildings 15 and 16, it was on March 23rd. We had over 15 vendors and about 150 residents attended. I would also like to thank those of you who attended our Bubbles Brunch and Business Excellence Awards. That was on April 24th, where we honored our special businesses of the year, so large business, small business, nonprofits. It was an exciting event. We had about 100 people there as well. And this Friday, we will be re-honoring our Small Business Person of the Year at the Broward County Council of Chambers Lunch, where most of the chambers within the county all come together to recognize our individual honorees. It's at the Renaissance Hotel in Plantation this Friday, and I do have 2 tickets still available if anybody would like to attend. The Chamber has also helped with several new businesses opening in Dania Beach and Dania Point this year, including Hobby Lobby, First Watch, the new Wyndham Hotel, Miracle Leaf, Padrino's Cuban Restaurant, Cannabis Wellness, PDQ Chicken, and at our grand opening and ribbon cutting of Outback Steakhouse, we had over 51 attendees. We would now like to invite all our residents, all of you here, those of you watching, to our annual Code Red Hurricane Expo. There are flyers. Vanna. Out on the table. We do this in partnership with the city, with BSO, our Parks and Rec department, especially Eric and Raphael, and Katya is my right hand in this event. It's going to be Saturday, June 1st here at City Hall. We have Betty Davis from WPLG as our main speaker, and along with Robert Molita from NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. We expect over 24 vendors, including BSO, Fire and Sheriff, American Red Cross, Bass Pro Shops, West Track Harbortown Marina, insurance agents, service companies, Impact Windows, Humane Society of Broward County. We also are in contact with the Census Bureau and the property appraiser. They both have asked to attend as well, along with our local nonprofits and more. We have lots of raffles. All the vendors have giveaways. Jackson's Ice Cream will be back again this year. And we also give Panera Box lunch to everybody that attends. So please, invite your family, your friends, your neighbors, your business associates. It's a great event, lots of fun, and very informative. Again, thank you for your support of the Chamber.
Thank you. And I personally just want to say thank you to Randy and Pat for everything you do for us. Thank you. Next item is Friends of the Dania Beach Paul DeMaio Library update and 2020 Census Partnership. Linda Wilson, President of Friends of the Library.
Linda Wilson, President, Dania Beach Friends of the Library. I'm here to ask for your support for the Friends of the Dania Beach Library. We are facing a shortfall this year, and normally we double match everything that we get from you in the charitable grants, but because of weather conditions and lack of ability to raise funds at events that we were not able to take place because of inclement weather and just simply because they didn't take place. So we are facing a $2,500 shortfall through December. Our budget this year is $4,000 more than it was last year. Most of the increases come from the fact that we've increased the number of programs that we've provided both for children and for adults. And that's the main reason that we're here, but also to tell you and to show you how many things that we do for the city and for its residents on a very, very limited group of volunteers and not funded by the Broward County Library. So if you would just take a look at some of those things, you don't have to look at them right now, but I did want to emphasize the fact that this year, the coming 2020 census, the libraries all will be participating in assisting. This is one of the first electronic census that has been done, and it's the first time libraries have been actively involved. And we, right next door, will be very involved. We have a dedicated e-government computer. Our staff, our friends, volunteers, and other volunteers will be there to assist people and encourage them as they come into the library to fill out their census right there electronically. Now, some of the things that I would like to point out to you about, I know many people think nobody goes to the library anymore. Well, in last year, from September until September of 2018 to 2019, we had 115,777 people come into the library. That's an annual count. And if you take a look at the stats we provided you, we have almost 30,000 computer users. And these are people who do not have computers at home. They don't have the smartphones. They don't have laptops. They come to the library to use our services every year. We have more than almost 7,000 Wi-Fi users that come in there. Why? Because ours is free. And they can come in there all hours of the day when we're open and use our facilities. A very interesting stat I wanted to point out to you is someone mentioned we have 35,000 residents. Well, the library has more than 13,000 Dania Beach library cards issued. That's 1/3 of your population. So if nobody uses the library, I don't know who those 13,000 people are, but I'll tell you, the Friends are here to help everyone, and we can't do it without your support. You always have supported us. We've never come back to you and asked before, and I hope we will never have to do it again. We have submitted our annual grant application, and we hope you'll take it seriously. And I would ask everybody here, all of you, to become a friend of the library. We do things for all of you, and you don't have to be a resident. All our programs are free, and they're for everyone. So if you take a look at our summer programs and our monthly programs, they're all for you, all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda. Can we throw them at you? No. Commissioner James?
Yes, thank you, Linda, for informing us of these things, and especially for bringing the census up. That's something that I know that a lot of this board has gone to and attended forums or conferences or something, presentations, and we will be looking at an opportunity for a partnership with the library, especially when it comes down to the census, because it is electronic. And I just want everyone to understand we are taking those matters seriously because everyone needs to be accounted for, and it is tied to a dollar amount that the city will receive. And so because you have more computers readily available there, we definitely will be looking into opportunities in partnership with doing some type of a program or an event for the census there.
City Manager, do you know if we have any funds that we can help support them with?
We can always squeeze some funds. We've been very careful with the budget this year, and I think that this is such a great cause. And the fact that we have 13,000 Danians using the library and over 100,000 people, and especially this year, I've spoken to both, the Vice Mayor and Commissioner James, Ashley, Commissioner, all of you in regards to, we know the census is extremely important. So we're gonna make you work for that money, but because we need you, and this could be a really tremendous partnership. So yes, we can't find that money.
Board Member Brandon Marty?
All right. Is this on here? The very first sentence is what's getting to me. It says, we will have a shortfall of funds by the end of summer. Now, listen, we've done this before up here. I don't want them to be short by the end of summer because I go there in color. You laugh, but ask them if I don't. And I help to put out the cheese and the fruit, and I love them. Isn't there some way that we can now give them a small donation to get them through the summer? Because I don't like this shortfall before the end of the summer.
She just said yes.
Mayor?
The city manager just said yes.
Okay, so come on, let's do it. Move it. Okay. Linda, where are you? Linda, how much do you need to get you through the summer?
Well, we're okay through the summer. At the end of the summer, we will not have enough money to do the programs through December.
Okay, what do you need?
2,400.
Dollars will help carry it.
Hey, that's good with me. Have her make a motion. We give her $2,500.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. You have it. Next item, special event request from Broward County Environmental Planning and Community Resilience Division for the 34th Annual Ocean Conservancy International Coastal Cleanup to be held on September 21, 2019 at the end of North Beach Road from 9 a.m. until noon. The applicant is requesting a fee waiver and parking passes. Are there any issues with this?
No, Mayor, we've sat with all the departments. This is providing a benefit to our community, as is the rest of the upcoming proposals, special event requests.
Commissioner Harris? No, cancel that. Okay. Anyone else?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next item, special event request from St. Maurice at Resurrection Catholic Church for Florida Night of Worship event to be held on May 31st, 2019 at 441 Northeast 2nd Street from 5 p.m. until 11 p.m. Any issues with this?
No, Mayor, it has gone through all the proper departments and all the proper approvals.
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so moved. Next item, special event request from the Dania Beach Community Redevelopment Agency for the at-home Dania Beach groundbreaking ceremony to be held on May 25th, 2019 at 40 Northwest 14th Avenue from 10 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. The applicant is requesting BSO Police and Fire Services. Any issues?
No, Mayor, we support.
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next, we have several proclamations tonight. First one, National Women's Lung Health Week Turquoise Takeover Initiative. That is, okay. Hold on.
Good evening, everybody.
Please state your name for us.
Drew Haggard with Gray Robinson, and I'm happy to accept this proclamation on behalf of the American Lung Association Turquoise Takeover. Turquoise Takeover was started as an initiative as part of, and here's a slideshow going now. As part of the American Lung Association, we're starting in South Florida right now, and we're spreading it across the nation. The point is to get the color turquoise associated with the fight against lung cancer. And to raise awareness and funds to fight lung cancer. We'd really appreciate the city going turquoise this year, and I hope to continue it every year. And just to let everybody know, lung cancer is the #1 killer for men and women across the U.S., and it's that number is not known to many people. So very important, and we appreciate everybody wearing turquoise. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Haggard. And I know that, stay here, don't go anywhere. The city of Dania Beach did participate in this on May 7th, where a number of people wore turquoise and obviously took lots of pictures, and we posted them all over the place, so in support. So proclamation is, whereas lung cancer is the #1 cancer killer of women and men in the U.S., and every 8 minutes, one woman in the U.S. loses her battle with lung cancer. And whereas advocacy and increased awareness will result in screening and early detection for people with lung cancer that will ultimately save lives. And whereas public support for research funding will result in better treatment and early detection methods that will ultimately save lives. And whereas Lung Force is a national initiative led by the American Lung Association to fight against lung cancer. And whereas 97% of women don't don't even have lung cancer on their radar. 61% of women incorrectly believe or are not sure that lung cancer has a similar survival rate to other cancers, when in fact lung cancer survival rates are about 5 times lower than other major cancers. And whereas close to 400,000 Americans are living with lung cancer and nearly 160,000 Americans die of lung cancer each year, and whereas the number of women dying from lung cancer each year has nearly doubled over the past 30 years. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Dania Beach City Commission, I, Lori Llewellyn, Mayor of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim May 12 through 18, 2019 as National Women's Lung Health Week Turquoise Takeover Initiative in the City of Dania Beach, and urge all residents, businesses, and municipalities in Broward County to become educated about the high incidences of lung cancer, risk factors, and screening options for both men and women, and encourage participation by turning communities turquoise in support of the National Women's Lung Health Week Turquoise Takeover Initiative. Thank you. Do you want a picture? Okay, we'll take a picture.
Oh, and I also forgot to mention, this Friday we're having a happy hour to close out the week at Shima's from 5:30 to 7:30. Everybody is welcome to come and wear turquoise. Love to see you there. And if you'd like to donate, go to the American Lung Association website. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Harris, did you hit your button by accident? Okay, good. The next proclamation is with regard to Charles Mack McAleer Remembrance, requested by Commissioner Brandemarty.
I am requesting at this time that former Mayor Bobby H. Grace come up here with me. This took 2 people because they don't pay me to carry that sign.
That's nice. To my fellow commissioners and colleagues, to our department heads, to the residents of the city of Dania Beach, first of all, excuse my back to you. I am indeed happy to read this proclamation simply because Mac and I were elected in 1989 at the same time. He had been on the commission, but that year when I came aboard, we were elected together. I know that his family is here, and I'm going to ask them to please come up now. Come on, Debbie. Come on, Tom. Mac and John Bertina were the longest ringing mayor and commissioners that we've had in the city of Dania Beach, and yours truly is number 3. This should be a happy time for all of us because he has given so much to this great city. And I'm telling you, it was a pleasure working with him. In the times of agreements and disagreements, Mac was always Mac. Okay? Whereas Charles McAleer was born in Hollywood, Florida on February the 9th, 1932, lived near Sheridan Street in US 1, and soon moved to the town of Dania, where his mother was born, and attended the Dania School, now known as the Dania Elementary School. Whereas Charles McEley served as mayor for 5 times. Have you ever heard that before? 5 times in the city of Dania Beach from 1988. Remember, I came aboard in 1989, okay, until 1991. February and March of 1993 to 2000, 2001 to 2004, 2005 to 2010, and to 2011, repeatedly serving to build and govern his beloved city. And whereas Mr. McEley was an amateur historian and was very instrumental in safeguarding the city's rich heritage of the safekeeping of the largest collection of antiques, photograph stories, and boy, can he tell a story, I'm telling you, and was always gracious and shared with others. Whereas the road to remain interest of the city of Dania Beach, founded by Paul DeMeo Library, when Paul DeMeo Library was right here in City Hall before we built the library. And whereas the main entrance, this sign that you see here, C.K. McEley Way, was presented by the City Commission, whereas Charles McEley passed away in eternal life on April 10th, 2019. He is survived by his children, and I won't name you, but you know I love you, and I watched all of you grow up, and I loved your mom, Carol, so much, too. I really did. Now, therefore, the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach acknowledge the many contributions made by Charles McEley, and I am indeed proud to read this, and I thank my fellow colleague, Commissioner Chicky Brandon Marty, for allowing me to do this and to share with you just a few of the things that most people in the city of Dania Beach don't realize happen. When we were elected to office together, it was Charles McEley, John Bertino, Gene Cook, and myself. When we annexed in 1972, we got those shirts, Make Dania Beach Beautiful Again, and we went out to the new annex area and we presented them to people as they were cleaning their yards and landscaping and so forth. And we rode in Mac's truck. It was just an honor to do that. When the Habitat for Humanity came in here with Susan Gonsberger and Sylvia Portier, the land that was given to us, Mac cleared that land for the 11 homes that we have for Habitat for Humanity. And in 1990, when Dania Economic and Development Corporation built the 26 homes in Bird Point, who was there with all of his equipment? It was Mac. And let me tell you that he has given to just about every resident in every different part of the city, whether you needed a refrigerator, you needed grocery, whatever you needed, he was there. We're going to miss him because you don't have many elected officials like that will give. And he shared how he used to buzz houses and stuff with the airplanes. I mean, it was kind of frightening to know that he was up there sometimes. But I'm sure that he has definitely have his wings now. So I am honored that the City Commission has allowed us to do this, and it will go down as an historic moment for the city of Dania Beach. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No, it's not enough room. Not enough room. If y'all can go into the, it's not enough room.
Ms. Grace,
He's going to hold it. You hear that?
Jessica, do you want us down there as well or no?
Oh, please. I'm sorry. Everybody. You know,
It's up to you.
definitely a no-no.
It's up to you.
Please. No, please.
It's okay.
The officials should come. Yes,
I'll come.
definitely.
I'll come down.
Please. I apologize. Got caught up in the moment. Because this is historical. It really is. Go and take a picture. Everybody go, oh, look at the baby look.
Oh, she's clapping. The baby's clapping. How cute.
Great, great. I gotta go back down again. I'm being paid this time.
Okay, the next proclamation is National Safe Boating Week, NSBW, with Robert Sherman. Robert M. Sherman.
Boy, it's been a long time since I've been up here on this side of the podium. Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Madam Manager, Mr. City Attorney, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Robert Sherman. I'm the Division Commander for the Coast Guard Auxiliary Division 3, and I introduce some very important people, not as important as the electeds, of course, but basically we have Chief Adam Graber from the Coast Guard Station. We have Mark Brody, who is the Flotilla Commander for Flotilla 39, and we have Irv Gelbart, okay, who is the Vice Commander, the one taking it for Flotilla 39. Taking pictures right there is Brett Robotsky. He is the Vice Division Commander for Division 3. So basically, Flotilla 39 is the Coast Guard's Auxiliary's newest flotilla based right here in Dania Beach. We have the backing and support of the Coast Guard Station, and it's a great joint effort to promote safe boating. So it was our pleasure to talk with Madam Manager, Ms. Garcia, and she was so enthusiastic, and I want to thank you for your support. And I know Mr. Brody would like to say a few words as Flotilla Commander. Mark?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody. And excuse my back. We're a unique flotilla. Flotilla 39 is one of the very few flotillas that is attached to a Coast Guard station. And we've kind of like made history over the last 5 years by doing this. Right now, we're 25 strong members. We have 3 response boats that serve alongside with Station Fort Lauderdale doing search and rescue. We work very closely with Broward Sheriff, making sure all the ships get out safely every weekend. So we have built a nice relationship so far. We would like to build even a better relationship with Dania Beach, Mayor, your staff, and everybody else. We're here to stay. We have no intentions of leaving. We put a lot of time and effort into this. We didn't start this yesterday. We started this 3 years ago. And everybody standing up next to me has put a lot of work into it. So National Safe Boating Week is this week. It's to promote safe boating. It's to help boaters on the water and educate them. And that's what we do. We try to educate boaters through classes at the ramp by doing safety inspections and working alongside with the Gold Side, with the Coast Guard, also doing inspections. So we appreciate everything that you've done for us tonight, and we look forward to a long-lasting relationship. And one other thing I want to relate from the station, everybody was aware of the government shutdown. So Coast Guard people, especially these young kids, 22, 23, did not get paid for 6, 7 weeks. And they could not pay their bills. So with the efforts of the auxiliary, people in Dania Beach, Publix, Jackson's Ice Cream, and numerous other people, and I don't want to leave anybody out, we raised $100,000 to help support these people during the shutdown. I want to say thank you to everybody from Station Fort Lauderdale. You want to say anything? Good? And I'm going to introduce Chief Graber, who's in charge of operations at Station Fort Lauderdale.
Thank you, Mark. Just getting over a cold. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, staff, fellow residents, public businesses, city officials. Like Mark said, I'm the Operations Chief Petty Officer, Adam Graber. I've been in the Coast Guard for 19 years. I think I've seen it all until I came down here to South Florida. And every day is National Safe Boating Day to me. As the economy rises, gets better, more people on the water with better boats, faster boats, and you know, we watch the news, we only hear about the bad stuff that happens. A lot of stuff goes on behind the scenes at the station, filling out databases. We have about over 100 people with reservists, and we cover from Boca Inlet down to Haulover Inlet. Last year, I think the statistics I pulled, the boats moved over 1,031 times. The boats moved. So that means the boats are moving multiple times a day. Law enforcement capability, search and rescue capability, port waterways mission safety security missions, as well as presidential details that we work with alongside at Mar-a-Lago. The government shutdown did affect most of our junior members, such as vehicle payments. Vehicle companies don't want to hear the shutdown's going to affect them, but we had to find a way to pay it. Mortgages, rent, food, you name it, it impacted us. So thank you for the local support from the city, the restaurants, Publix, you name it, they stepped up. They came to the station, delivered food, and couldn't appreciate it better city. So thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you.
And some of the other people in the audience, you can please come on down. John Narducci, Simone Narducci, Nick Narducci, Robert Corbett, Robert Etheridge. Am I missing anybody?
No, now you're not.
Oh, Mr. Menendez. And this is Flotilla 39.
Thank you all very much. I feel safer already. Commissioner Brandon Marty.
I was going to say, but I'm not going to say it now. I know you five. Who are those two? But you beat me to it because you brought them up here. But, sir, when I saw you sitting there, and I wanted to know who you were, too. So thank you. You too.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Huh? He's what?
Okay. And
By
now-
his size, I know he's security. Okay, thank you.
All right. And for the proclamation. Whereas, on average, 700 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the United States, with the vast majority of these incidents caused by human error and poor judgment and not by the boat, equipment, or environmental factors. And whereas, on June 23rd, 2019, the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary will celebrate its 80th year of volunteer service to Dania Beach, Broward County, and to the boaters of America. That deserves a round of applause in itself. Sorry. Whereas Coast Guard Auxiliary Flotilla 39 proudly serves the U.S. Coast Guard Station, Fort Lauderdale, and the City of Dania Beach residents by teaching boating safety classes, conducting vessel safety checks, and provides for harbor safety patrols, assisting the U.S. Coast Guard and local law enforcement agencies by patrolling the local waterways. And whereas each day, more than 30,000 Coast Guard Auxiliary volunteers continue to provide support to Coast Guard units across the U.S. by saving lives and property, assisting recreational boaters, conducting safety patrols, performing vessel safety checks, teaching boating safety courses to educate recreational boaters, and participating with the U.S. Coast Guard in training and support missions. And whereas Flotilla 39, Dania Beach supports boating safety by providing Operation Clear Channel support, providing safe transit for cruise ships, tankers, freighters, and other commercial vessel traffic through Port Everglades. And whereas this year, May 18 through 24, 2019, is National Safe Boating Week in the United States, and the U.S. Coast Guard Station Fort Lauderdale and Coast Guard Auxiliary Flotilla 39, Dania Beach, encourages all boaters to help raise awareness about boating responsibility and to take appropriate precautions before leaving the dock this season. And whereas boating is an important part of our national and local heritage, let us respect Safe Boating Week and carry that tradition forward by following common sense safety procedures and keeping our lakes, icy intercoastal waterway, and the Atlantic Ocean safe and clean for all to enjoy. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Dania Beach City Commission, I, Lori Llewellyn, Mayor of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim May 18 through 24, 2019 as National Safe Boating Week in Dania Beach, Florida, and urge all citizens to support the dedication and efforts of the U.S. Coast Guard and the Coast Guard Auxiliary by promoting year-round safe boating practices. Thank you all for your service.
And ladies and gentlemen, these people to my right and to my left, they're the real unsung heroes.
Yep.
The auxiliary is volunteers, but I can't think of a better reward for what we do. And Chief Graber will tell you that it's like a big family, but we're out there in case anyone needs us for search and rescue purposes. United States Coast Guard, and we are Team Coast Guard. We are proudly serve. So thank you very much.
You're heroes. That's what you said. I do too.
Everybody wear your life jacket. Wear your life jacket. Nice.
I sleep in mine on a cruise ship. I do. I can't help it. It's just I don't know how to swim, so I would sleep in it.
Good job.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
All right, this last one.
Who is it? Who's the last one? Jewish Heritage Month. Let's go. Thank you. You're a hero. You're heroes, all of you. Okay, one more time.
Okay, and our last proclamation tonight is for the Jewish American Heritage Month. Please come up and state your name and tell us where you're from.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Lauren Alperstein. I'm an attorney with Boyd, Schiller, Flexner in Hollywood, but I'm actually here tonight on behalf of Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the Jewish Federation of Broward County. On behalf of the Congresswoman and the Jewish Federation, we feel it's incredibly important, given the uptick in acts of anti-Semitism over the past few years, that we take a moment to remind ourselves just how much the interaction of different faith traditions and cultures has enriched our lives and our community. In South Florida, we live in an estuary of cultural exchange where our neighbors come from different nations, different faiths, and speak different languages, yet we all share in this one wonderful community together. That's why the Jewish Federation of Broward County, the Greater Miami Jewish Federation, and the Jewish Museum of Florida approached Congressman Wasserman Schultz back in 2005 to file a resolution to urge then President Bush to recognize the month of May as National Jewish American Heritage Month. That began a bipartisan tradition dedicating a month to educating Americans of all faiths about the contributions and achievements of American Jews. Over 360 years of Jewish life in America, Jews have made significant contributions to the success of our nation dating before the Revolutionary War, especially with the disturbing rise of anti-Semitism that we're experiencing in our country. Raising awareness among all Americans about Jewish culture and history is imperative. This year's theme is celebrating the achievements of American Jewish illustrators, from Jerry Siegel and Joseph Schuster, who created Superman, to Marvel's Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, who created such iconic figures as Spider-Man, Iron Man, Thor, The Incredible Hulk, and X-Men. Jewish illustrators have been trailblazing pioneers in American culture. Through the prism of their Jewish identity, these artists have been able to make poignant observations about our own world while imagining bold new ones, often with an eye toward social justice. To the fans of X-Men, it has been widely understood that beneath the colorful costumes and the supernatural powers was a parable about the Civil Rights era, where characters like Professor X and Magneto stood in for the divergent worldviews of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. To Captain America, who on the cover of the first issue of the 1941 series was introduced to the world, giving Adolf Hitler a right hook to the jaw. These images and the ideas they represent have inspired and moved generations of young Americans, and you don't need to take my word for it. Just look at the box office numbers for Avengers Endgame. In short, while it is often too easy to fixate on the differences that divide Americans, this proclamation, and thank you again to Mayor Llewellyn and the commissioners, will go a long way in helping our community lift up and celebrate those elements of culture that we all share. So in honor of JAM, which is Jewish American Heritage Month, we encourage each of you to visit your library next door and spend some time with the work of one of these illustrators. Try to find someone in your life, maybe a child or a grandchild, who could share in this inspirational tradition of truth, justice, and the American way. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. And for the proclamation. Whereas on April 20, 2006, President George W. Bush proclaimed that May would be Jewish American Heritage Month, JAM, capping an historic achievement by an impressive group led by the Jewish Museum of Florida and South Florida Jewish community leaders, which eventually resulted in congressional resolutions introduced by Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Senator Arlen Specter. And whereas JAM recognizes recognizes the more than 360-year history of Jewish contributions to American culture and society, from sports, arts, music and entertainment and history, to medicine, business, science, government, and military service. Across these fields, many Jewish Americans have contributed significantly to this nation's struggle for freedom, justice, and liberty, having helped bring about progress in all aspects of this nation's values and character. And whereas many Jewish people who reached America did so after fleeing oppression, in some cases amid the most grim and gruesome of human experiences during the Holocaust, and did so with the hope of realizing the true promise of building a freer and more just America. And whereas many Jewish women and men made lifelong commitments to confront the enemy of America's noblest goals, racism and oppression. They found solidarity in the civil rights movement, in the fight for women's and LGBT rights, and in struggles which often mirrored the story of Exodus and the Jewish people's journey through the ages. Many Jewish people found America's best values in each of these causes: a demand for fairness, equality, and justice. And whereas the rise in anti-Semitism demands that all Americans know the lessons of the Holocaust, we must recognize that there is an urgent imperative to continually combat prejudice before it firmly takes root. This recent reemergence of violent anti-Semitism aimed at places of worship requires that we recommit through action and solidarity that an attack on the faith of one is an attack on the faith of all. And whereas JAM celebrations include a unique annual theme, and past events have been held at the U.S. Capitol and the White House and other federal sites such as national parks, the Library of Congress, and the National Gallery of Art. This year's theme provides a wonderful opportunity to recognize the American Jews who have helped create the images that represent important parts of our everyday life, from beloved children's books, graphic superhero novels, and daily comics and illustrations. These Jewish artists have been shaped by a Jewish experience and a truly American life, and memorialized and reimagined the American imaginative landscape. And whereas throughout their work, one often finds a common thirst for freedom and justice, as many of these Jewish artists, writers, and illustrators are adept at untangling our complicated world and synthesizing lessons and insights about it clearly and succinctly. For that, the world celebrates their work, and we hold their accomplishments up high. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Dania Beach City Commission, I, Lori Llewellyn, Mayor of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2019 as Jewish American Heritage Month.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next item, citizens' comments. And we have quite a few tonight. First one up, Mr. Leslie Kevles. Please come up, state your name and address, and you'll be limited to 3 minutes.
Thank you. Leslie Kevles. I'm on West Marina Drive, the estates of Fort Lauderdale. What's happening is that I believe there's a crisis in the city when it comes to fire rescue. We're currently being served by 2 stations, one out west at Station 17 and the one around the corner. We recently had an incident at the estates, and The response time, we checked our video, was 11 minutes. Might not seem like that long, but it was, considering that Hollywood Fire Rescue is around the corner from us. They did not respond. It was Friday night. I understand that they're busy. I think what's going to happen in the future, we're growing leaps and bounds. 196 apartment units are being built at Sterling and Lakeshore. You have Dania Point, which is growing by leaps and bounds. You're going to have those condominiums and hotels there. We need more help, more first responders. The city is underserved. I know that I've heard from most of you, and I know that it's on your minds. This is not new. We've noticed this problem for the past year. It's been longer than a year. It used to be that Hollywood would be there right away. But I don't know whether there's an issue with Hollywood or not, but it doesn't appear that they are responding. Thank you.
Thank you. No. We're not supposed to. Well, I don't, that really isn't the time for that. This is more comments at this point, and then if we can refer them to somebody. I know that we've.
I just want to make sure you said that you got our emails and that someone will be reaching out to you this week, and this isn't anything that we take lightly. 11 minutes is 11 minutes, and we'll talk about it this week.
Right. Thank you. Eileen Kevles Snyder.
Eileen Snyder, 3061 Cove Drive, States of Fort Lauderdale, at Dania Beach. I'm here about Bed Bath. Listen to me. You know what I was going to say? Bed Bath & Beyond? Airbnb.
Oh.
It's a cancer that's growing. I came to realize I wanted to make an appearance before the commission, but I think I have to go to the state first. And I'm going to make arrangements to talk to Evan Jenny is his name.
Waste of time.
But why I'm here? We were established in 71 and 72. We are property owners. The Broward County Property Appraisers puts trailers in one category. We don't rent our spaces, we own our land.
Right.
We have mixed houses in the estates of Fort Lauderdale. We have a covenant that was accepted by the state of Florida in 71 and 72 that we are a residential park. Why I'm appearing tonight, my new friend, the city attorney, I would like to know if we can have a moratorium while this is straightened out, because we have that moved in. They should get a slap on the wrist too, because they were supposed to show these permits, one from the state of Florida and a permit from Dania Beach. I would love, while we're trying to straighten out this new thing that the law has not caught up with, if we could have a moratorium. They were given, this is a resident, they were given restaurant and hotel permission. We have cleared out people that did not get licenses, that we see them, walking every day with luggage and new things. We ourselves police those people. But to be starting to give out licenses to a residential park is beyond me. Hope we can do something about it.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about the pictures, but they were not displayed properly like they were supposed to. Thank you.
And Eileen, if you haven't already, I'm going to recommend that after this meeting, you meet with the city attorney to discuss it further. Good. Okay.
It is a Quebec address. That's Canada, they say they don't care.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Next is Craig Valentine. And I know you know the routine.
How you doing, everybody? Craig Valentine, Gangrels Resting Asylum, 1982 Tiger Tail Boulevard. Good evening to everybody. Before I give out what's in the envelope, something that's important that came to my attention that we were notified about. I was just speaking to Raquel from the CRA. Daniel Puder, who won WWE's Tough Enough and has My Life, My Power, just selected us as the top school in South Florida, Gangrels Wrestling Asylum, to go ahead and wrestle at, I know I'm going to get it wrong, the African American Cultural Center in Miami on June 6th. So the city of Dania will be represented. It will be only our students and only our school, and Gangrel will be the main eventer against Daniel Puder himself.
Congratulations.
So I will send all the information. Raquel requested the information. It's on a Thursday night. She actually said she might be able to make that one. I hope everybody could attend. And don't forget, May 18th is our All Bets Off at the Dania Beach Casino. I have tickets for the commission. I'll give every commissioner, vice mayor, mayor tickets. So if they have kids that want to go, anybody that wants to attend, everybody is more than welcome to.
Just that's the same night as the League of Cities dinner. So, but I'm sure that we have some kids or somebody in town that we can hand these out to.
Parks and Recreation.
Go through Parks and Rec. Okay, give them to the clerk, and we'll make sure they get out to the kids. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next is Jose Armand. Please state your name and address, and you'll be limited to 3 minutes. Thank you. Give your name and address.
My name is Jose Armand, 50 Southeast 3rd Avenue. I'd like to start by giving a shout out to Carlos Camilo, who played at the last Dania After Dark, rousing the crowd to its feet as they danced to his Latin music beats. It is in that spirit that I propose we join other cities, the likes of Fort Lauderdale and Hollywood Beach, in celebrating National Hispanic Heritage Month 2019. Unlike Black History Month or Pride Month, this festival begins midway through September 15 to October 15, celebrating the contributions of Hispanics to this great nation. Its roots go back to 1968, when President Johnson signed it into law. It was expanded by President Reagan in 1988 to cover a 30-day period. Hollywood Beach has celebrated with an event called Hispanic Fest on Tyler Street with Latin food and live music, and also a Hollywood Beach Latin Festival, showcasing entertainers, Latin food, arts and crafts displayed on the Broadwalk. The Seminole Hard Rock celebrates with an event called Viva Broward! Exclamation mark, not mine, with live music and festivities. Broward County Library offers a host of free programs. And as a Cuban American citizen and resident of the Dania Beach community, it is our wish that you approach this petition with the same flair and infusion of energy that was evident at last month's CRA meeting, where Pride Month was discussed. It had been until then a thought bubble in Vice Mayor Ottman's ample imagination. Indeed, at the first meeting of this board, the Vice Mayor offered a progressive vision for Dania Beach, touting great wins for diversity and inclusion. Within the span of an hour or so, the project transitioned from a proposed city survey meant to query our community on how it feels about LGBTQA Pride Month to parading aboard a float in Wilton Manors during their Pride Month. This due to a call to Commissioner Harris's cell phone from a Wilton Manor city official who was following live via Channel 78. This board was invited to its Pride Parade, this board here. Commissioner Brandy Mart quipped that she could wear the same studded jacket she had on that day, or perhaps something in leather would be more apropos. And thus Pride Month joined Black History Month, a soon-to-be celebrated white city event. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Armand.
You're welcome.
And just so you know, I just mentioned Hispanic Heritage Month in the CRA meeting, but. Patricia A. Tyra. Please state your name and address, and you'll be limited to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Patricia Tyra, 2912 Southwest 54th Street, in the Estates of Fort Lauderdale, out west. I'm back up here because I've noticed for the last week how lovely the painting job is in the meeting room, conference room. However, of course, all the hooks are down and all the historic photographs are gone. Has the city made a determination, or are you willing to put them back in that room?
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
So right now, all of those pictures are being scanned for archival, and then they're going to be put into a book. And then maybe in about 2 more meetings, you're going to be hearing about a historical sort of, I don't want to give too much away, but a historical society. And I think you're going to be very, very pleased with what we're going to be doing with those pictures. So I would say maybe if you can wait 2 meetings, you'll get the entire answer. But the pictures will be returning into the atrium in book form. But right now they're being scanned.
I would like them returned to the wall.
I
so we can
understand.
see them.
Thank you.
Terrence McElroy. Please state your name and address, and you'll be limited to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Terrence McElroy from Lighthouse Community Church, 650 South Federal Highway. And I'm here today because our church has employed
I think you need to get a little closer to the microphone.
Can you hear me better? Is this better? Okay. Our church has adopted a program fashioned from a pastor in Dallas, Texas, Tony Evans, and it's called Churches Adopting Schools. We've been successful for the last 3 years, and I'm here not to talk about myself as much as it is about the children that we're servicing. We're here in Dania Beach at Dania Elementary, which we just won Community Service Award for the Mentoring Program of the Year. So this we take, we're going to just show it to you. I also have the booklet with our pictures and stuff. We're dealing with 153 children, and out of 153, I would say about 90% of the children that we are mentoring and tutoring are passing to the next grade, and their letter scores have doubled. This isn't just talk. This is documented through Pinnacle. I'm sure you know that's through middle school, but we've seen the facts. Dania Elementary, who was hesitant about having us come in because they didn't trust churches, because churches gave up on them. But we've been through this for the last at least 4 or 5 years. We started in Pembroke Pines at Pines Middle. That is our flagship program. We have 70 students there. We have 40 at Dania Elementary, and we are running right now an after-school program right here in Dania Beach at the church, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. This is a free program. And the reason I'm here tonight is it just breaks my heart. As I'm watching everyone here, everybody's reading. You're doing great. I've looked at the presenters who've come up. But we're dealing with children who are getting left back in the 3rd grade. They can't read or write. So as we're talking with our pastor, we're very fortunate to be in a church where the pastor really believes that helping the community, going outside the walls of the church to help those who need it the most. And it breaks my heart that when I see children that can't read, they're in 11, 12 years old, that can't do 2 times tables. It's it's a passion that I have. Now, I came from maximum security jails. I'm a deputy warden, 20 years at Sing Sing, 5 at Green Haven, I did 3 at Bedford Hills. I know what happens at the end of this road. Now, this cliche that they have about from crib to prison, that's a true statement. You get left back in the 3rd grade, 80% chance of you going to jail. They're building a cell for you. I'm not telling you anything new. I'm really here to make you aware of a program that's going on in Dania Beach that you may not be aware of. And so we're trying to partnership not just with you to make sure that you're aware of it, but for everybody else that's sitting out here. Fire chiefs, all of these people who've come up. We're just trying to get people. I'm not asking for money. We're looking for people. We need mentors that are willing to say, you know what? I can read with a child for an hour. So I'm not going to take up a whole lot of time, and it's not about me. It's really about your community. And I dare say that most of us, we got through it. But your community is changing. It's not what it used to be. And I've only been in Dania Beach probably last 6 or 7 years. But the community is changing. You have to recognize, I'm sure you do, that you come out behind these desks, and I know that you know what's going on. So as it's breaking my heart to see another child that can't read or write, that's about to be left back. But we've been successful, and we're trying to partnership with other mentoring programs so that we can say, as a community, that we can make a difference. So on June 10th, I've been invited by the school board to talk about how they want to multiply our program in the school system. So I'm available after this meeting. I'll give up my cards, whatever it may be. My 3 minutes is up.
Yes, I was just about to tell you that.
I just want to say, listen, for everybody that's out here.
Thank you.
Everybody. That fire chief right there, he sent his one guy who's come. He came with us in Dania Elementary and helped some kids read. Thank you, and anything else I could do to help you, or any information you need.
I have something.
Commissioner.
Yeah, I want to sign up. I'll say I want to commit to be a mentor, and I have some other mentorship programs that I'll be able to share with you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Keep up the good work. Colin May Jones. Please state your name and address. You'll be limited to 3 minutes.
Colin May Jones, 22 Northwest 14th Ave, Dania Beach, Florida. As it's increasing, you know, we have the Saratoga building that's increasing. We have the Dania Point that is increasing. Traffic is increasing. I go out, I have to see children walk home from school on the middle of the road with traffic going both ways. I have to pick up my dog to go to a safe sidewalk, to walk my dog, looking over both sides. We're getting left behind. We need sidewalks. We need speed bumps. We need protection for our children. And it's an urgency. It's not for that penny tax or whatever. It needs to happen now. Before, I shouldn't have to go out and see somebody scraped off the side off the road because of developers are coming in and developing without stuff in place to protect the citizens that are there. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ray Sandler. Please state your name and address and be limited to 3 minutes.
Ray Sandler, 1433 Northwest 8th Street, Melaleuca Gardens. I too want to talk about the pictures once again, the historic pictures. I really believe they should be where everyone can see them. Not everyone can get into that conference room all the time. So I think they should be out here in the atrium. That way kids come in, they can look at it. And it's a great idea to have them on digital pictures. But then if they go too fast, you know, an old photo has a magic to it. And it's educational. You're looking at it going, oh, that was US 1. Compare that to what it is now. It's a whole different thing than digital photographs. I prefer the old black and whites. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlotte Sloboda. Please state your name and address.
Charlotte Sloboda, 2905 Lakeshore Drive, another Estates of Fort Lauderdale. We're talkative tonight. Okay, Commissioners, I sent you I all sent you an email tonight, and I know it was late, but I want to briefly say what was in that email. The other day I watched the video of the proposed budget meeting. The meeting took place on Good Friday. I think the meeting of this importance should have been canceled. I perfectly understand why you all wanted to get the meeting over with to get to a Good Friday service. Therefore, rushing through the meeting, I would like to believe that if you all had more time, you would not have proposed what you did. I totally agree that the combined travel expense for 5 commissioners of $18,000 is way too low. I'm okay with the $12,000 increase per commissioner totaling $60,000. What I'm not okay with is after you made the proposal for the commissioner's travel expense to $60,000, that you made a separate proposal for CRA travel expense, created an additional travel expense for the CRA board, which is you 5 commissioners, not including the CRA director or staff. That's totally separate, which they need to have the travel because the director and her staff do need to go to all these places. The CRA board is the 5 city commissioners. Therefore, you just gave yourself a $40,000 CRA travel expense. You just asked the taxpayers of this city to fund the commissioner's travel expense from a combined $18,000 to a combined $100,000, an increase of $82,000. How can this be justified? Now, I was here at the CRA meeting that took place before, and I understand that it was proposed for a decrease of $10,000, so that brings it back down to $90,000. And I understand perfectly that you all want to have travel expense to expand your education, which we all think I think is a terrific idea. But I don't understand is why you need the separate $40,000 since you just went from $18,000 on your regular travel expense to $60,000. Why can't you use that to go to the CRA travel expense? And then I don't understand why. And then if you run out of that money, then you just come back and ask the board. I mean, that's just checks and balances. Now, I know I don't expect an answer tonight because I heard what went on through the CRA meeting, and I know you have a lot to deal with. I just had to get this out. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. Public safety reports.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. We're still hearing about scams targeting the elderly. Please, if anyone receives a call from somebody acting as a government official demanding payments of bogus fines via gift cards, just hang up. We're also noticing an increase of skimmers being found on gas pumps. Before you decide to use a card reader at a gas pump, take a good look at it, make sure it hasn't been tampered with. If it's loose, that's another good sign not to use it. You're better off going inside. It's the safest option you can use. We've made several arrests lately involving stolen vehicles where key fobs were left inside. Many of those we have arrested have been juveniles. We've been receiving emails from businesses and residents about issues they see while driving around town. This is a good thing. I encourage residents to continue to email me with any concerns they have so we can either investigate them or find a solution to the problem. Once again, if you see something, say something. I enjoy receiving feedback on our deputies. Most of the time it's good. Yesterday I was contacted by our Internal Affairs Division in reference to a family who had an encounter with two of our deputies while at Jackson's Ice Cream Parlor. The father of the family, Mr. Vargas, wanted to give Deputy Dave Wilson and Robert Boris a word of commendation. He advised that Deputy Boris and Deputy Wilson were outstanding, high-minded, and pleasant. Mr. Vargas stated he and his family were enjoying their ice cream when both deputies took it upon themselves to take photos and gifted his child with a toy police car. He added this made a lifelong impact on his child. That completes my report.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
And thank you to the deputies.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. I'm actually here on behalf of the City Manager for anything. I have no actual formal report, but I will be here on June 1st to kick in beginning of hurricane season. So you'll have my smiling face then. But I was in receipt of an email that you all received that was forwarded on to me in reference to a delayed response time. So I'm here if there's any questions that you'd like to, I know it's not a place to talk about it, but if anybody wants to talk to me, I'll be more than happy to communicate.
I think Mr. Kevlis will probably want to speak with you outside.
Oh. I have questions, though, for him.
Commissioner James?
Thank you. Hi, good evening. How are you?
I'm good.
I too have questions about that incident. I would like to know, are we not allowing the city of Hollywood to service that area, or what has happened with that? I'm not aware.
That was from an automatic aid agreement that was struck just prior to the merger due to some staffing issues that we had encountered here in the city of Dania Beach. We ended up decreasing our staffing to two on the rescue, and it was a disproportionate auto aid. So it was more, they would have to send additional units in order to cover the unit quantity, the complement of units onto a call. So at some point they were saying, well, it's enough is enough. So they decided to, and I'm talking about the city of Hollywood, to go ahead and not honor the automatic aid agreement.
Is there any opportunity for us to revisit this idea, or something that would allow us to enhance our service to our residents?
Yes, absolutely. The city of Hollywood, on their side, had added more additional units to the run cards. I'm trying to come up with the best way to say it, to actually make the coverage area seamless. We kind of took it a different direction. So by bringing up our staffing, bringing up our units, I think Hollywood would come back to the table.
Okay, because there was another resident that came here a few months ago. They had a similar incident that happened to her at our home, and one of her neighbors passed away. So if there's anything that we could do, if you could set up a meeting with me and email me so I can know what to present to our board, and so we can do the right thing to have our residents with the best possible service possible here in our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Brandon already had a question for you. Sorry.
Okay, through the mayor, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong. Approximately 2 to 3 years ago, we received a letter from Hollywood, Leslie, so that you know. And Hollywood said that they were severing the sister relationship with us because of the fact that when they responded to our calls, they had a 3-man med unit and we only had a 2. Do we all remember that? Did we make a difference and make it equal to Hollywood?
Yes, it
Wait,
took.
go ahead, you answer.
Okay. Yes, you did.
Okay, then tell me something. Since now, if they send a 3-man med unit and we have a 3-man med unit, right? Why aren't we looking back into building this relationship of what Leslie was saying, whereas we have sisterhood to it. If we lived up to what they're complaining about, that's what their biggest complaint was. And we do have the letter. Am I right, Tom?
Yes, but the chief is pointing out that he's going to restore that communication and try to get Hollywood to work with us once again.
Okay, so when you meet with them, even though this should have happened already, as soon as we built up our med unit to the capacity that they wanted us to, that's the day it should have taken place. So please, can you see what you can do with them?
Absolutely, Commissioner. I just also want to point out, in my 36 years, I've always found that it's not only just one thing that was the tipping point. The other issues were they had staffed additional units within the city of Hollywood for the call volume, and what they were also doing was it wasn't an equal balance of
Right.
calls received to call because they had a larger, and that was just the tipping point.
Right. Okay, but thank you.
Very well.
Commissioner Harris? Don't leave.
Great.
I'll just take
Chief,
Yes.
when I had my conversation with Les, where's Les?
It's right there.
The other day, he said, is there a best case or a worst case scenario when all the units and all the houses are out? And what do we do in that case? Do we like widen the net for the volume of the calls? Let's say, and Lauren can tell you because she works in the ER, in a case where all the units are out, it's a full moon, and there's a major event going on, and all the units are out. What do we do in a case when all the units are out? Who do we call? And how does that definitely affect the response time when all the units are out? Well, I mean, what's the contingency plan for that?
Actually, you captured it right there at the end. It said it affects the response time. There are one or two pathways you can go. One is internally, and when I say internally, through through BSO Fire, you have units that are not necessarily contiguous, but are close by. For example, Port Everglades, Station 6, hop on there, or one of the regional units. The other option is to request mutual aid. Now, mutual aid is a time-consuming process because you have to actually ask the city, can you send a unit? And then whoever the chief is on at the time will send a unit, but it is at his or her discretion which unit to send. So it might not even be the next closest unit. We all strive to send the closest unit, but we can't see this because we don't have the same system in as opposed to automatic aid where we can pull up the systems at the same time and look at it. So automatic aid is a seamless transition. There's also another pathway to take, which is a kind of a modified automatic aid where you Dania actually flirted with it. It was one of the first cities to flirt with it, was actually kind of break up the zones, the closest unit response. So the States of Fort Lauderdale clearly pointed out is just down the street. And then the next closest unit would be Dania. And then, and vice versa with here, we might have a unit closer than one of the Hollywood units. But, there are options there. At the end of the day, what is affected is the response times.
Right. And one more question, and this came through my conversation with Les. Ideal response time would be how long? What's the benchmark for ideal response time?
Ideal response time is 6 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm talking about a medical call. What you need to do on a fire call, we have a different benchmark, and it's the number of personnel that you can get on the scene within 8 minutes. If it's a residential structure fire, you want 14 people on the scene within 8 minutes, or the fire starts to progressively get worse, and then you'll need twice the amount of people in order to put it effectively under control.
One more question. Based on population figures, as the population grows, what's the contingency plan for adding units, adding firefighters, EMTs? I'm sure there's a formula for the ratio for the number of units that we need for the population. So I'm sure we're going to look at that at mid-year?
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I use a concurrency report and encumbrance. So the amount of time the unit is busy and the number of times that the probability, because you have to factor in growth. No one can actually empirically state there are some ideas out there that the higher the density per square mile, the higher the call volume based on the closeness. I've seen it in Oakland, California. I've seen it in other municipalities, but the probability of a call falling is more of a driving factor, and in addition to the number of time that unit is busy. So when you balance the two of them out, and if you have 2 units, and the third call goes and it comes down the pike, you're relying on either mutual aid or automatic aid, and if it's over 50% of the time, then it's one or so it's every few calls that is actually occurring.
Commissioner James?
Yes, sorry.
That's all right.
Am I traveling, especially to Israel and other countries? I know in Israel they have these units that are kind of on like a moped that could at least stabilize or deal with an individual until there are other people or other units that could respond. And I know that could probably save lives as well, especially as we're expanding and having more people here to service. Is that something that could be done here? Is that something that happens in the U.S.? I have not seen it, but I can tell you overseas they have these paramedics that respond to those types of calls, and they have their little, whatever you want to call it, safety medical kit on the back, and they respond first because they can maneuver through traffic way better than large units. And so I want to be innovative if no one has done it yet, or I want to be proactive in understanding that big units aren't always the most efficient to get there in a time-sensitive case and matter such as this. And I would like to explore the opportunity if that is something that could be talked about or thought about as well until, in the interim.
Actually, yes. Miami-Dade County came up with this first. They were running BMWs on expressways. We actually have a motor medic program.
Okay.
However, it's a very specialized unit. It takes a lot to become a motor medic, and we use them in special situations. Whenever we have a large area, high population density, special event, we'll bring out the motor medics, and they can zip in and out. Case in point would be heavy cruise ops day, when you've got a small footprint and you have 15,000 people coming in, 15,000 people. You have basically a city in an 8-hour period. And to navigate through there with buses, we tried bikes. They didn't fare too well. They were more of a target. Have had some incidents with just the bicycles. So we went to the motor medic program, and they actually responded quicker. They can get out onto the dock a lot easier. They can navigate. It is, though, a little hairy.
Okay.
It is.
City Manager?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I wanted to thank Chief Holness, because for the past month and a half, we've been meeting practically weekly. Chief Holness, Chief Busenberg, Chief Fernandez, and just last week I spent 3 hours at Station 1 here with Captain Sergio. We're waiting for some concurrency numbers from Dania Point to see how that has impacted us. And for us, one of the things that we've been discussing is the priorities coming up, not just at mid-year, but for fiscal year 2020. And public safety is really something that we're extremely concerned about with the numbers that are coming in, and we're going to put a game plan together for the commission for your support. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Yeah. I understand that Dania Point is going to be building a police station out there, but I also don't think that it's strictly for police. Am I right? Or are you not aware?
I'm not aware of the details.
Well, okay, because my understanding is it is not strictly for just the police department. So, I don't know.
I think
City
it is
manager
strictly.
or mayor?
Yes. Right now, the information that we have that's strictly for police, but we want to leave that dialogue open for the possibility of having a substation there for fire as well.
That's exactly what I'm getting to. Don't need it for one, need both. Because they are adding to taking away the safety of our communities by the calls that would have to go out there. We have to take care of the people in the city of Dania Beach. We really do. And also the point, our visitors. Thank you.
Thank you. You're finished.
Okay, all right.
Run as fast as you can. Okay, next is the consent agenda. Do we have any polls?
7.8.
I'm pulling 5 and 6. Any others?
I'll pull 3 and 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for just a little bit of explanation, that's all.
Okay.
So I make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 7.3, 7.4, 7.5, 7.6, and 7.8.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
7.3 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving execution by city officials over the 2019 amendment to an interlocal agreement existing between Broward County, Florida and the City of Dania Beach, Florida, providing for division and distribution of the proceeds from the Broward County additional 3-cent local option gas tax on motor fuel, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Just a little bit of explanation on number 3 and number 4 from my work with the MPO, that gas tax revenues are not what they used to be because vehicles are now more fuel efficient. They're not using as much gas, plus hybrid vehicles, plus electric vehicles. So it's important that we share the revenue that's coming in because it's only predicted to fall even more over the next couple of years with more people going to electric power cars. So
Share it with who?
with the county.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a revenue sharing thing, and it's like the third or fourth revision of the interlocal agreement, so Tom knows all about that as well. So just a little bit of background that everybody who has an electric car, of course, there might be more cars on the road now, but they're not all using gasoline, so that's just a little bit of backup.
Make a motion to approve 7.3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
Item 4, resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving the execution by city officials of the 2019 amendment to an interlocal agreement existing between Broward County, Florida and the City of Dania Beach, Florida, providing for division and distribution of the proceeds from the Broward County additional 5-cent local option gas tax on motor fuel for transit, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
The same explanation applies, so move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Item 5, resolution of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, amending the city travel policy, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
I pulled this one for the same reason that I pulled the one during the CRA meeting, and that is because, like Charlotte Sloboda, who was up here earlier, I've received several complaints from a number of our residents about, number one, having the workshop that we did on Good Friday when people could not attend. So I wanted to make sure that people were aware of what took place and discuss the issues and see if there's some way that we could reconsider some of the recommendations that were made at that time. As noted at the CRA meeting, the recommendation at that time for travel policy, we had an $18,000 total travel budget for the year. The recommendation was that we have individual budgets for each commissioner that ended up being $12,000 per commissioner, which comes out to $60,000 for the year. In addition to that, there was also the recommendation set for a separate budget for the CRA, $8,000 per CRA board member, which has now since been reduced to $6,000 per CRA board member, but it still comes out to $30,000, which means there's now a total travel budget for commissioners and board members for the City of Dania Beach of $90,000 for travel, which used to be $18,000. It's a significant increase. It is, in my opinion, excessive. We had discussed comparing ourselves to Hallandale, which is slightly larger than the City of Dania Beach. Hallandale has a $10,000 per commissioner travel budget, which is $50,000, essentially. And they are a larger city. And that budget includes the CRA. I know when Charlotte was up here earlier, she asked why there had to be a separate budget. There had to be a separate budget because our CRA is separate, which is not the case in every other city. So that's why there's two separate budgets. However, still combined, it is incredibly excessive. And I have, as I expected, received a lot of complaints from a lot of residents about those expenditures. And quite frankly, I don't know any cities in Broward County that have such a high budget for travel. in fact, I actually ran into a commissioner from Hollywood, and we talked about it for a little bit, and she told me that they have a budget of $2,500 per commissioner for a city the size of Hollywood, and if they need additional funds for travel, they come to the board and they request it, and that includes CRA, because they don't even budget for CRA travel at all. The other problem that I have concerns about with this is that the way that this is set up, there isn't really any accountability for what travel is being done. And I think there needs to be something in this travel policy that that shows where we're going. If somebody is going to a conference, you need to be able to show that it's something that's relevant. Whether we limit it to certain conferences that we know we all go to, because they're relevant conferences like the League of Cities or something like that, or if somebody has to review the items that are the receipts and everything that come in to show, and maybe even the agendas to show what's on the agenda and say this is related to city business. I don't want to have a situation where somebody ends up, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you never know, where somebody goes on a trip somewhere and has nothing to do with a conference anywhere, and we don't know anything about it because there's no accountability for it. And the way that this is set up right now, I don't see where there's any sort of accountability. I just want to have some checks and balances on it, and I do think that we need to reconsider from $12,000 per commissioner and decrease that, considering the fact that there's still $6,000 per commissioner for the CRA as well. Anybody have any comments? Vice Mayor.
Mayor, respectfully, we are so tired of arguing and defending our requests for education to be better electeds. And I feel I've given this answer so many times, but why read it off the record? I'll just say it again. This commission, this board, wants to continue to do better for the city. And when we had Nikki in front of us from finance, she couldn't even remember the last time an increase had happened. Cities all around us are increasing their budget for travel and for their commission. I believe Fort Lauderdale just proposed something like for their salary going from $35,000 to a median living wage of $75,000. So when we talk about what's excessive, I suppose it's all relative. To say that the commission may start going on trips, I don't even know how to respond to that. Up here, our colleagues are all integrity all day long, you included, and this insinuation that maybe they're taking time away from their kids, their husbands, to go on a trip? That's insulting. That's insulting to me, and I don't really know how to respond quite to that. Again, in the interest of building bridges and not constantly trying to burn them down, I think we can discuss another number to bring it down a bit. We're at $12,000 allotted per commissioner, and I suppose we could go down to $10,000 per commissioner per year. Anything that less than that, we might as well go down to $10, because it's these trips, especially for the commission, are more expensive. To go to DC, to go to Hawaii, like I know you are soon. These are all pricey trips. They're not small ticket items. So that's why this number is higher than the CRA number, which we just tried to ballpark into what we were specifically trying to do that year, which was attend a conference and attend our educational items. So I suppose that's my answer, and then my motion to change the amount from $12,000 to $10,000 per commissioner. That's all.
First of all, the item that had not been reduced in many years is number 6, not number 5. Or not been increased in many years was number 6, not number 5. I'm talking about number 5 right now. As I indicated in the beginning, the purpose for me bringing this to everybody's attention is because, as you know, there was nobody here on Good Friday when we had this workshop. Since that time, I have received a number of complaints from people that did not know about the meeting, felt that they did not have an opportunity to speak, felt that they did not have an opportunity to understand what was going on, and wanted more information on that. Therefore, I thought it was important that we bring it out to the public for transparency purposes. As far as trips are concerned, I'm not accusing anybody of doing anything. It's simply a matter of having checks and balances in the system to ensure that this is not simply a fund for people to take money out of and go to different things. We need to be able to explain where we're going, what we learned, what we've done, and that's something that could potentially not happen if there is nothing in the travel policy that requires that to be done. So that's really the whole purpose of this, is the fact that, and also to look at the fact that other cities, I mean, I'm not going to compare us to Fort Lauderdale. We're certainly not as large as Fort Lauderdale. And that's a salary issue that's different. But a city like Hollywood that's significantly larger than us is only doing $2,500 a month. $2,500 per commissioner per year, and then they come back and they do ask for additional funds if they need it. Hallandale, $10,000 total. That includes all travel. That includes commission travel. It also includes CRA travel. Hallandale is 39,000 or more residents. It's significantly larger than us. And at the same time, and even Tamarack, who was also brought up during our workshop, was $15,000 per commissioner per year. And they are about 3 times the size of us. That means their travel budget is less than ours. That's concerning to me, that we are recommending and asking to put in a budget $80,000 now for travel for a city the size of Dania Beach. I get it, that it is important to be educated. I've said it before, I will say it again. I don't have a problem with that. But we shouldn't be putting all of our money into things like travel when instead we have other needs in the city. We just heard about the whole issue with the firefighters. We need to bring in, we're going to need a new truck. They're going to need more people. They're going to need a station. They're going to need a lot of things. And that's not just the firefighters. We're going to need that with a number of things in the city that are, I'm sorry, quite a bit more important than any of us going to a seminar. So to me, this just seems egregious, it seems excessive, and I don't think it's necessary. I think we could significantly reduce this. We reduced the CRA budget by only $2,000 per commissioner. I think we could reduce it by more than that per commissioner for the commission. Vice Mayor.
Respectfully, Mayor, it seems rather hyperbolic to say that this money for travel is going to somehow make it impossible for us to fund things that we've known for years are necessary, like increasing our fire safety and our safety for the entire residents. And I don't think there's one commissioner on here that if they felt that was the situation, would not prioritize safety first.
That's right.
So that, I don't know how much more to say about that, and I suppose I can only speak for myself on that.
No, you're right.
Second, in terms of keeping commissioners accountable, in terms of bringing back information on what they learned, I have no problem with that. Share what you learned, share your education. I've talked about doing that several times, and I think that Commissioner Harris has done that for us, and I believe Commissioner James has as well. When they've come back, they told us about what their courses that they took, the relationships that they made, and the outcomes that came with that trip. Third, in terms of transparency, it was only 2 or 3 weeks ago where you had taken a trip to wherever it was, to Tallahassee, and that was something that wasn't even brought forward to us.
It was discussed.
You went on a trip that we've never done that, where we haven't approved a trip before the commissioner went. So when we talk about transparency, again, it seems to be a little subjective. But again, I'm talking about bringing the number down. I hear you that you are not happy with the amount. I am bringing it down. I imagine my commissioners to the left are not happy that I am bringing it down. But again, our job, the most fundamental part of the job, is working towards consensus, and that's what I'm trying to do. So again, my motion is for $10,000.
Commissioner Harris.
Because of the conversation and the hour, let's table this and revisit it at the budget workshops, which are coming up, and then take a good look at the numbers with the finance director and the city manager and see what we can do to amend the program to make everybody happy and have consensus. Can we just table it until
No,
budget
she already has a
workshops?
motion. She already has a motion.
It would have to
Are
be a
you making a
motion that would
motion?
supersede the other motion.
There's a motion on the table for $10,000 per commissioner.
But his would supersede that. Okay.
Make a motion.
That's, yeah, understood.
Is it?
Are you making a motion or are you not?
The discussion isn't over.
James has some more discussion.
I'm just trying to find out if you're making a motion or not, that's all.
Yes, it's my motion to table this until the budget workshops in a couple of weeks.
And I will second that. Commissioner James?
Yes, we're all tired of this. I'm personally tired of having to explain myself like I'm 5. Have people up here point at us like we're. Can you regulate them, or only is it only when staff is talking? Okay. I'm just tired of explaining my seat at the table to people. I received one email, and that's from Mrs. Sloboda regarding this, and that was today. And I responded to Charlotte. However, we don't go, like I stated before, and many of you were not here. We've stated time and time again the amount of time our employees travel, they're never pulled. The amount of time, I broke down the numbers of everyone else, they're never pulled. And if, quite frankly, we did what the mayor is insinuating of $2,500 per commissioner at Hollywood, she wouldn't be going to Hawaii either. And so we really have to look at everybody's going. I'm going, Commissioner Harris is going, the mayor is going, and it's very subjective. We're tired of it. I'm okay with the $10,000. Let's be very clear, when we broke down the CRA budget, for many of you who were not there, it was so we can get certification, so we can understand as a board and as a commission the importance of having a CRA, the importance of how to do redevelopment, the importance of our economy and things of that nature. It wasn't to just go have fun. I have a 7-year-old, and I do find it offensive and very insulting to say that, I'm struggling right now going to a conference because I want to get back in time, and I may come drive in the middle of the night so I can make my son's football game. So don't think for a second that I enjoy just going somewhere, and I'm a single mother. Let's be very clear. I value my time. You don't have to tell me to stay home. I'm up here, all right? And if you guys want to be disrespectful, I will make sure that something, because clearly I have to defend myself up here, and I will always continue to defend myself, and you will not be disrespectful to me. It's just not going to happen. And so I'm in support of the $10,000. I'm just ready to get be finished with this, so we don't have to have, we have so many other pending issues, a list of our responsibilities, water issue that has to be solved by 2023, census issues, all these other issues, transportation, and we're arguing, and we continue to bring these things up, and for what? My support is with the vice mayor and her suggestion. Of course, it was 12. She brought it down. She built consensus. It's something that people need to learn how to do.
Commissioner Brandamari.
I feel like I'm up here all alone. I'm not going because I don't know how to do the hula. But anyway, besides that, I'm listening to all these mouths running, and yet I see that the very first person that wants approval of this $3,340 is our own mayor. Why don't you pull out?
Because it's a mayor's conference.
Well, really and truly, but so can the people that are up on this dais go to it, as is being seen right now. Now, if you want to lower the price down to $10,000, I don't care, because I'm not going, so that's fine with me. And I don't believe she can get away from the ER, so I don't think she's going. So that's 3 of them that are going to go. I know, like I say, I'm not going. But I don't see anything wrong with continuing education whatsoever. Don't take your position up here on the dais if you can't do a good job. And that's where you learn how to do a good job, is going to classes you like. Unfortunate for me, my best classes are in Orlando, and my priority is Airbnb right now. So if there was a big Airbnb in Hawaii, I still wouldn't go. But I'm going to go to the one that's locally. I mean, that's in Orlando. But you want to lower it down to 10 grand, that's fine with me. I'll go along with that. But any more than that, no. Because you won't even be able to afford to eat wherever you go, believe me, even Orlando. All right, thank you very much.
We have a pending motion, correct? You still, your motion is standing? Yes. Can we call the roll, please? Do you want to? You did. No, you made, you're superseded.
Yeah, let's just revisit this at budget hearing workshop. That's my motion.
And I already seconded it, so please call the roll.
Commissioner Brandamart?
No.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
No.
Vice Mayor Udman?
No.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
Motion failed 2-3.
Okay.
So now you have the other motion?
The vice mayor's motion can be made again if she chooses.
I make my motion once again of the city commission travel to be $10,000 allotted per commissioner per year.
And if I may also add this phrase I wanted to use before, this policy is adopted pursuant to Florida statutes, section 166.021, parentheses 9, parentheses B. This allows the city to create its own travel policy.
Yes, thank you, City Attorney.
I second it.
Call the roll, please.
No, I have discussion. One last.
I do too.
Can I? Okay, thank you. Just to address one of the concerns, I wanted to be sure when we are traveling that we still submit all of our documents we need for flight, hotel, agenda, and all those things. Those things will still be submitted, right, Nikki? Okay, but so none of that is going to go away. So the accountability is there. It's all public record. And absolutely, it won't be like we have a lot of this money and no one will be able to see where it's being spent. Thank you.
And who is being spent by?
And who it's being spent by.
You call the roll, please? Wait, Commissioner Brandamari.
Yeah, I got to also verify, Nikki, that they know how much money they get to spend in a day on food and so forth and so on. Because, first of all, the city makes the reservations for the hotel, correct? Okay, so you know how much is allotted for everything. Nobody can do anything that it looks like it's being, that it's doing. All right, also, is this vote including the CRAs?
No.
No, that was already voted on during the CRA meeting.
Why did we bring it up? Okay,
Wait, is the question you asked?
I don't know why.
Do you have a question?
So you're voting on the motion of 10,000 per
Can we, instead of having
Yes,
conversations?
yes, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, what was that? We didn't have the vote started yet.
Then what do you want? Who? Yours. No, I'm done.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Can we please read back what the motion is before the vote?
Yes, hold on. Thank you. The motion is to adopt Resolution 2019-037 as amended per the city attorney, and to lower the allotment from $12,000 per individual commissioner to $10,000.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman?
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
No.
Motion carries 4-1.
Item 6, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida pertaining to expense allowances for the mayor and city commissioners, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
And again, for those who were not here on Good Friday when this was discussed, our finance director advised us that it had been many years, she didn't know how long, since the last time the expense allowances were increased for the city commission. Each commissioner receives $6,000 per year in expense for local travel, local expenses, dues for different organizations, that sort of thing. The recommendation was to increase it up to $10,000 per commissioner. And again, I want to bring this up because I said it at the time. I still think that's a bit too high. I think $7,500 would be more than enough, considering these types of fees do not go up, and they don't go up that much over a period of time. Mileage is based upon gas prices. It varies. A lot of times it goes down. It doesn't even go up all the time. And dues and other expenses like that generally stay around the same amount. So I am just asking if we could reconsider it and bring it down to $7,500 per, as opposed to $10,000 per commissioner. Anybody have anything to say? Commissioner James?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
And you're saying approve as is?
That's correct.
Okay. Please call the roll. I'm sorry, Commissioner Harris.
I mean, as the city grows and the population grows and the number of events grow and the involvement grows and the sales and marketing of what we do up here, and I think as advocates for the city and putting our best face out there, and I think it's usual, reasonable, and customary to have that kind of expense amount, because in lieu of a salary increase, which there has not been in a number of years. But I mean, I know from myself, I mean, everywhere you go, there's a fee, there's a parking, there's a this, there's a that, there's a Uber, or there's always,
Whoa,
it's
wait.
all out of our pocket. So,
There was a salary increase last year, and I believe the year before as well.
but as we grow and we get larger, there are more events, more options for optional events that we don't have to attend, but in our best practices, I think we should attend. So I'm gonna support this.
Okay, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman?
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
No.
Motion carries 4-1.
Item 8, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, authorizing the city manager to apply for the 45th year Community Development Block Grant Program for the approximate amount of $150,000 to provide funding for wayfinding signs in the Dania Beach Community Redevelopment Agency area, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Yes, thank you. I pulled this item because I had a conversation with the city manager in Collin about a week ago, maybe a week or two ago, and I had questions about CDBG money, this money that we're talking about, this application, and I also had questions about what these monies could be allocated for. I know currently these monies have always been spent, to my knowledge, on our OASIS programs and our solar lighting, which is vitally important, especially in this area where we're in the flood zone, and I was a part of Irma, and there were a lot of streets that were black. Out west, it tricked me out west because there were a lot of solar lights out there. So I assumed that they had power, but they had not had power. I can only tell by the houses being black, but continuing to replace these FP&L lights or adding solar lights, when you think about climate change, when you think about our storms becoming more and more aggressive, now we're having storms that aren't even hurricanes that kind of give us the damage of a hurricane. I understand that there are a lot more uses for these monies. I was not aware that we were doing an application for this after I'd spoken to the city manager and to Mr. Donnelly, who consults with us. I still was having questions about our next 3 lots and who those lots would belong to. I just need a lot more information. I went through the application. I see the CRA is written all over this application. I don't know their involvement in this. I know I have a meeting with Fletcher tomorrow to discuss possibilities of everything that we can do. Wayfinding signs, I think, is in our CRA plan because it was on this application, and I think that it goes with our branding initiative as well. And I also think that would be an extension of what our rebranding efforts entail. I just want to bring this back under discussion and possible action because I want to know every possibility that we could have. I know that some of that money could go towards enhancing and beautifying our residents' homes and landscaping, down payment assistance. The possibilities are really endless. And so I want to make sure that we all know and we all are on board with our CBDG money. So I'm asking that this come back under discussion and possible action after we've had a discussion and all of us can agree on what we want to use that money for.
City Manager?
At the end of the day, the will of the commission is what derives what we do here. When we were discussing this application, one of the things that came up that the requirement and the criteria for the CBG funding is specifically to the CRA area. In the past, applications that have been put in that were not aligned with the CRA and that verbiage have been rejected. So since we have embarked on this tremendous project of citywide branding and these amazing entryway signs, so then what happens? They enter the city, and then what? Wayfinding signs are perfectly aligned with the CRA planned.
Absolutely.
And we believe that it would augment and enhance the beautiful entryway signs. But at the end of the day, your will is basically my directive.
Yes, there's no issue there. I agree. Wayfinding signs that are on the CRA plan absolutely would enhance all of our experiences here in the city of Dania Beach. I also understand that that was a part of the CRA in their plan, and I don't know if they were planning to address it with the rebranding. However, I don't know that I would want to spend grant money on that. I would rather spend grant money on things that don't really upset the residents or whatever the will of this commission is as well. But I am asking that we look at all of the opportunities and everything that entails these monies. And if CDBG, if wayfinding signs is something that we go down, we can definitely budget for that. We can always adjust for that. We will have wayfinding signs. I just want to be sure of what other opportunities in this specific area that we can use the CDBG funds.
City Manager?
Certainly. Since I started here as your manager, one of the things that I have communicated to you that is imperative that we have priorities. And one of the things that I discuss is to be able to have a strategic plan so we have clear priorities. I want to pick up the ball and score a lot of touchdowns for the city and for all of you. So certainly for me, getting those priorities is key. So when I do bring something, it's something that has been thought out. and something that is aligned with an existing game plan, that it would certainly enhance what we have in regards to approval of the brand and the entryway signs. It would definitely augment it, as it has done for Miami Beach, for Fort Lauderdale. But at the end of the day, your directive is basically what I would do. So whatever you all decide.
Commissioner Brandemarty?
This doesn't affect the Oasis project, this money, how it's spent, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Possibly.
There's a $200,000 appropriation for Oasis, Commissioner.
There is?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Commissioner James?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to table this item and bring it back under discussion and possible action when we have all of the ideas and opportunities of what we want to do with this.
Do we have a date in mind for that, or?
We can bring it back next meeting, that's fine. I think the 28th, is that the 28th?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandemart,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner James.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman,
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn.
Yes.
Thank you.
Agree. I know.
There are no bids and requests for proposals. Up next is public hearings.
9.1 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 8 entitled Buildings, Article 10 entitled Storm Shutter Regulations, Section 8-186 entitled Storm Shutter Placement of the City Code of Ordinances pertaining to the dates that storm shutters shall not be permitted to be maintained in a closed position, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, further providing for an effective date, the second reading of the ordinance.
Is that Corinne?
Good evening. Is this on? Yes. This is second reading of the ordinance. And I made presentation on the first reading. I can go over any details or answer any questions if you have any.
Sorry. Public hearing, does anybody have any comments for or against? Seeing none? Oh, I'm sorry. Please state your name and address.
Charlotte Sloboda, 2905 Lakeshore Drive, Estates of Fort Lauderdale. This is important to communities like where I live because many of our residents out there are snowbirds, and they leave before this date. So for them to be in compliance, we need to have the date changed. So I'm asking for you all to agree with this. Thank you.
I make a motion to approve.
I was going to see if there's any other comments for or against. Seeing none?
I make a motion to approve 9.1.
Second.
Oh, second, third, fourth.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandemart.
Yes.
Commissioner Harris.
Yes.
Commissioner James.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Odman.
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, bear with me for this next one because it's a long title, but we're going to continue it anyhow, as I understand it. This is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, to amend Chapter 28, the Land Development Code of the City Code of Ordinances by amending Part 1, Use Regulations, Article 110, Use Regulations for Commercial and Mixed-Use Districts, Section 110-20, List of Permitted, Special Exception, and Prohibited Uses, to amend the Schedule of Permitted Uses, creating Section 110-320, Mobile Food Vending Conditions of Use, Article 115, Industrial Districts, Permitted, Prohibited, Special Exception Uses, and Conditions of Use, Section 115-40, Schedule of Permitted Uses, to amend the Schedule of Permitted Uses, amending our Part 3, Special Zoning Districts, Subpart 1, Community Redevelopment Area, the CRA, Form-Based Zoning Districts, Article 302, Detailed Use Regulations, Section 302-10, Permitted, Special Exception, and Prohibited Uses, to amend the Schedule of Permitted Uses, amending Part 6, Development and Review Procedures and Requirements, Article 675, Temporary Use and Special Event Permits, to provide for mobile food vendor events, and further amending Part 7, Code Administration, Article 725, Definitions, Section 725-30, Terms defined, to provide for mobile food vendors, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date. First reading was, it's the first reading, but this was continued from the February 26th meeting and the April 9th meeting, and I believe there's a desire to continue it again.
Staff is requesting a withdrawal.
Withdraw it. Okay, so it'd be a...
Thank you.
So next is, next two items One's a plat note amendment for the Marina Corp., and the other one for the QMed Corporation. Anybody who's going to speak on these matters, these are what are called quasi-judicial matters. Anybody that's going to address the commission, including staff, you need to speak, swear, or affirm. Testimony will give will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thanks very much. Next item is 3, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving the plat note amendment delegation request DR 4119 application submitted by Dennis Mealy Esquire on behalf of the property owner Dania Beach Marina Corp. for property located at 90 North Bryan Road in the City of Dania Beach, Florida, as legally described in Exhibit A, a copy of which is attached to this resolution, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Good evening, Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. I will try to be brief, but this application is for a plat note amendment for a property located at 90 Bryan Road. It is commercial, it's in the CRA. It was the subject of previous approvals in 2016 and 2018, and primarily it was built as a dry stack storage, but later an outdoor bar was added. This is the location of the property. It's on Bryan Road on the east side, across from Dania Point. It's right between Northwest 1st Street and what would be Dania Beach Boulevard if it went through to Bryan Road. This is what the facility looks like today. What they're requesting is to change the restricted use note on the plat. So currently the note on the plat restricts the use to 40,000 square feet of industrial use on parcel A, and they're requesting to add commercial square footage, 1,298 square feet of commercial, some of which already exists, but there is additional 765, which allows for expansion of that commercial use in the future. Any expansion of the use would require site plan approval as well. This did go through a review of the Development Review Committee in March, and they were able to address outstanding comments at that time that the staff had, and we're recommending approval at this time. Are there any questions of staff?
Yes. Could you go back to the other slide? So, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, where?
Right there. So the real reasoning, so my understanding that the reasoning that this plat amendment was so that they could cover with the tiki hut covering for the portion that is currently uncovered but wouldn't expand the service area. Is that not?
Right. Through the plat note, you can see that they identified 533 square feet of existing commercial and 765 of proposed. So it does indicate that they're anticipating expanding that use in the future, but this note will allow them to do that.
But this is, now if you go back to the other slide, but this is in preparation for redevelopment. What kind of redevelopment on the site? What kind of redevelopment are we subjecting ourselves to with this zone change?
It does allow this. It's not a zone change. It's a note, restricted note on the
change,
plat.
sorry.
So the industrial component already exists. What they're adding is the commercial component. So it adds that commercial component to the property, which wouldn't otherwise be allowed, which seems to be compatible considering Dania Point's across the street. So now you can add that commercial activity to the site.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Harris?
But any future development would have to come before us or through the Planning and Zoning Board for approval. Anything within the realm of.
Right. So redevelopment of the site would certainly require site plan approval. My only hesitation is that there are some provisions for administrative approval of site plan modifications, but those are generally pretty small scale. But anything that intensifies, increases the use, increases parking requirement would come before public hearing.
Commissioner James.
Sorry, lastly, I would like to add in the motion, whenever the motion is created, that it includes those roll-up sides that were stated to me that they were planning to do. I would like to make sure that is included in it. Dennis.
Dennis, do you want to come up and address that?
Dennis Mealy, 200 East Broward Boulevard, on behalf of the applicant, and we would agree with the comment made by the commissioner.
Okay. It's a public hearing. Anyone to speak for or against? Come on up. Please state your name and address, and you'll be limited to 3 minutes.
My name is Gabi Echevarri, and I live on 22 Northwest 14th Avenue. And I agree with Tamara that if I have a an issue with a tiki bar before, and I bring it to the commission last year. And in reference to the noise, they couldn't play louder music because they have an open space when they serve food. But now if they try to do this, to put a rolls or something to close the space, I'm concerned about the noise again, because they play bands all the weekend, and the music was so crazy. And I had to bring the issue to the commission, and then I'm concerned if this allowed them to start playing loud music, live bands again.
Mr. Mealy, can you address that?
Bless you.
Thank you. The reason that we are proposing to increase the tiki hut coverage and also coverage area, and also to have these roll down wall type things, is to keep the sound contained better. We actually had a sound study done by sound engineers, and this is what they recommended in order to reduce the sound escaping from the site.
Commissioner Harris?
Any modifications to the site would fall within the normal noise ordinance and would be subject to any kind of fines or violations for that. Is that correct?
That's correct. We have to
Okay.
comply with the noise ordinance.
Okay. I want to make a motion to move the item then.
With the verbiage?
With the roll down.
As amended.
As amended.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Brandemart,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Udman,
Yes.
yes?
Yes.
Sorry. And Mayor Llewellyn.
Yes.
Thank you.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving the variance request VA 5619 submitted by Chuck Ludeman on behalf of Q-Med Corporation for property located at 2281 Griffin Road in the City of Dania Beach, Florida, as legally described in Exhibit A, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Good evening, Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. This application is for QMed, but it was previously brought forward before you as a site plan, and it was called Griffin Point at that time. It is located at 2281 Griffin Road. It has commercial zoning and land use designation, and in 2017 is when we got all the entitlements on that property to allow it to be developed, including site plan. There was a rezoning, a plat waiver, all kinds of stuff that they were in front of you before during 2017. The subject site is currently on the north side of Griffin Road, west of Ravenswood Road. It's approximately 9.5 acres, so it's a good site. It does have residential and commercial land uses on the east and to the east, and residential to the west. And the project has an approved site plan, and I believe construction is recently completed on the site. So this is the location. I know we're all sort of familiar with that. This is what it looks like today. I was out there on the site. It's built and it appears to be occupied. The request today is for a variance. There's currently a 6-foot wall along the east, north, and west property lines. The applicant is requesting to plant 16-foot tall perimeter hedge only along the southwest and southeast corner. So this is the side of the property that is closer to Griffin Road. The Land Development Code restricts hedge heights to 8 feet. The applicant has identified that the newly constructed building finished floor elevation is 4, so the building itself is already raised because of the finished floor elevation. So the existing 6-foot wall is providing limited buffering at this moment. I was out on the site today, and there's a couple things that are going on. I'll try to be quick. So this is the parking lot. There's a 6-inch raised curb kind of at this location. And as you can see the railing, there's about 3 or 4 stairs that you climb to get to the entry of the building. This is the ADA ramp, and if you look, you can kind of see how that side step grows bigger. It's it's hard to tell in the picture, but you can kind of see how far that step ends up being from the ground to the building. In addition, there is an 6-foot wall back here. You can kind of see it in that corner. That continues, yet standing at the front door, you're pretty much looking at the roofs of the adjacent mobile homes at the site, and that's kind of the reason why they're asking for this additional hedge height. This is a variance, and there are criteria identified in the land development regulations by which you're supposed to grant the variances. The applicant has identified how their requests are consistent with these criteria, and that's provided in your backup package. And at this time, staff's recommending approval of the variance. I know the applicant's here as well, if you have any questions.
Commissioner Harris?
Okay, go ahead.
Commissioner James?
Yes, Corinne, why do we restrict the height to 8 feet?
Well, we restrict wall heights, and so when you plant hedges, they can kind of have the same effect. So I think that's the reason, is to have limitations on that.
Okay.
There's also concerns about visibility as you get closer to the roads and the corner cords, but that's really not an issue at this point because they've already accommodated those.
Thank you.
It's a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against? Seeing- Go ahead, Commissioner Harris.
Excuse me,
Go
Mayor.
ahead.
I'm certainly not going to be against anything that anybody has, that they want to plant something and it's going to grow to increase the aesthetics of the building. It's an absolutely beautiful building. I remember, gosh, way back in 2016 or so, when we were on planning and zoning and there was nothing there, but now there's an absolutely beautiful building there. And if they add more landscaping to their property, I think it's great because it's going to grow and everything around here grows as the city grows. So I'm going to make a motion to approve this.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Udman?
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn?
Yes.
Thank you.
Discussion and possible action. First thing up is freebie ride program. Vice Mayor Odman.
First, the discussion items.
Lucky you. Everybody's going to be tired by the time you get to
Your picture soon will be coming on the side. Yes. Yes, please. All right. I'll try and keep this going at a fast clip since I have 3 items. I had the opportunity and the privilege to meet with the creator of this program about 2 weeks ago. It's called Freebie. And right now it's in Coconut Grove, Miami Lakes, Pinecrest, Doral, Fort Lauderdale, and has been very successful in all those. Essentially what it is, when you see that car, that's an electric car. There's an app that you can download, and on that app it is door service to customized places that we could decide may be points of interest. So let's say Dania Point, and I'm just making these up. Again, this is fully customizable. Dania Point, the beach, thank you. The library, City Hall, all these other different places. Thank you. It's been a long night. So it's fully customizable. The hours are fully customizable. And the actual geofencing, the location of, let's say, how far out it goes within Dania Beach is fully customizable as well. So these are the electric ones of the cars are meant for, they go about 35 miles an hour, and they are meant for smaller distances. So these would be residents that were within, I don't know, about 4 or 5 miles of Dania Point, and we're looking for a ride to Dania Point. They could request it through the app, and it's about a 7 to 10 minute wait for your car to arrive. And then it would take you over there fully. And like I said, this is a free service. They also have the bus services. So the buses are larger. They take, where's the buses? The buses can fit more people, and they can also go to the school. So they can they have the option to transport children as well, and they have different protocols for that. They've done it in, I think they said Pinecrest, primarily. That was one of the biggest uses for it. So again, they take all the data and they aggregate it, and they can tell you as you're going along where you're having the best ridership, so that you're not having any dead areas where you're having a bus or a car going, and there's no ridership in that area. Trying to find where the app is. How do I go back? I want to go to the app. So the app looks something like this, and you can totally customize this. At the bottom it says, take me to Dania Point. But if there's events in the city, take me to the Dania Beach Arts and Seafood Show, take me to the Dania After Dark. There's all these different elements in it that can be decided upon and that we could put it in. And so what we're looking to do right now is to do maybe a 6-month pilot program. This has been very successful in these other cities, and I think there's some real potential here. There's also potential for sponsorship for this pilot program, so it wouldn't cost us anything. We don't anticipate that it will. But I think that if we put it together, and it was of your will that I could start working with Jason from Freebie, and we can start putting together what that pilot would look like. He would then come and present it to you, and you could see if this was something that you wanted to move forward with, and if the pilot program looked of something that would be of value to the city. So that is my request tonight. Questions?
Commissioner
Anything I can
James?
answer?
Yes, I'm really impressed with this program. I heard about it, but not to this magnitude. So thank you for taking the initiative to bring this. Do they give rides to the airport?
It's fully customizable, so if we can look and see if that was one of the places. I don't know if it has to be within the city, so I guess actually the airport, I don't think it could do the
Okay,
airport.
I just would like legal to make sure that Lyft and Uber that we're not going to get into a litigation battle with that. I can see this taking a lot of service away from them. I am totally for this. I see tremendous opportunity with Parks and Recreation for transporting kids, for so many different things that this could work for. I think that this is a great idea. Our seniors could use it. Everyone could use it. I think it's great.
And you don't need a smartphone either. You can call for a ride.
Yeah, because my grandmother has a flip phone.
Right. So for those of us who don't have smartphones, you can still do the flip phone, or you can also hail it if you see it. The drivers for these cars, these are all private employees of the company, so they serve as ambassadors to our city as well. So if you're coming and you're saying, where's a great pizza place to go? There's an option in there for, let's say, one of my favorite places, Antonio's, for there to be a link to take me to Antonio's, and there can be a cooperative thing where they offer a discount, 10% off your first slice of pizza, something like that. So there's real community engagement in this, and the opportunities are really anything that the city thinks would be beneficial to the residents.
There was a question asked of legal, I believe.
Again, I don't think the fact that these would compete with Uber and Lyft, that's their problem. I mean,
Okay, I just want to make sure.
The one thing I do want to raise is we do have a community bus that serves the city, and we're already low in ridership on the west, so we're already subsidizing what the county used to pay, and we're trying to build up the ridership, as I recall, for that. So I just want to be mindful of that contract with the county.
Commissioner Brandon.
How many of these would you start off with?
So 3 right now, but if we felt we needed more, we can absolutely do more for the pilot program. And right now, when we're looking at the presentation, he did it with 3, 2 of the bigger trucks, and then 1 of the smaller cars. But again, completely customizable, along with the hours of operation and the specific geofenced area as to where it went.
I don't like the part about the children. Children got school buses, that's where they're safe. I don't like this thing for kids at all. I just don't. I know they're all screened people, and I trust the school buses and their guards that take care of them. Before I would this thing, I wouldn't put my kid in that. But I believe in this for us adults that want to get around somewhere, especially even out west by the mobile home parks. We should that's where we should start our pilot program, really, because otherwise somebody's going to take advantage of this and say, well, gee, I want this, but I want it specifically to take all these people standing on a corner down to a club meeting at such and such, which then leaves it so that the other people don't get a chance to use it. I think why they use them in Fort Lauderdale, and I did see them, is for tourists. They're really only for tourists. They're not for these other things. It's just the tourists. And I'm still wanting to encourage our hotels to have their own shuttles and these kind of things to be used for our residents, if we could do that. But otherwise, that's just a tourist trade in Fort Lauderdale. I know, because there's restaurants and they bring them back and forth.
Just to answer.
Hold on, because we have other people. You can
Sure.
answer when you come up. Commissioner Harris.
I think, to Raquel, we saw this back in January when we were at the MPO Summit in Miami. They were a sponsor for the program, and it was very successful in Coral Gables. So I would say yes, let's do it. When can we go for a ride?
Commissioner James.
Yes, I would want to take, I think that this addresses a lot of issues that we have with traffic. We have to look at more innovative ways to get around than everyone having an individual car. I think these carpooling type services enhances the quality of life here, the response time for EMTs, all of those different things. We have less cars on the road. We're already looking into a bike share lane. We need to become a more walkable community that relies less on travel, because as we continue to develop, the wides aren't getting that much wider. If there is a concern about children, I'm sure that we can address that at that matter. I have no problem with limiting it to whatever we want to limit it as, but I just really wanted to speak on the fact that we are a growing city by leaps and bounds, and we have to do something to address our traffic. And I would not vote for this if this was only for tourists and our residents couldn't partake in this benefit in this service as well.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, and I guess you really hit it on the head with that, Commissioner James. When we bring this presentation back to you, I think it'll be clear that this can be anything that the commission feels would best serve the residents. So I have no worries that it will be something you'll
City
like.
Manager.
Yes, certainly. What I wanted to add to the conversation, because I do believe that this is a great program. It's working in Coral Gables and Pinecrest and Palmetto Bay. I think that it behooves us at some point for us to do a transit study. We do have a bus that is not serving the needs of our residents. And I think that we should always work smart and have a transit study and really be ready for that penny tax that's available to us. And once we have that transit study and we have that document, we'll be able to have routes, we'll be able to have where our residents want to go and where they need to go. And I think not only will it serve this program better, but our existing program as well.
Just want to add one thing that I do have a concern about, and it's something that we see in the news all the time, and that is very simply that the liability issues. I don't know anything about the company, but I don't know if they're doing background checks, if they're doing anything screening like that or anything else. We have a problem with Uber already and Lyft. We've already heard about people being beaten, raped, and whatnot by the drivers. And my concern is that if this is going to be a city-owned or city-run program, that the city would then potentially have some liability if something like that were to happen. I have actually represented, as an attorney, I've represented companies or hospitals actually, that have had buses like this before as well, and the hospital ends up being responsible a lot of times for problems that occur, and there needs to be background checks as well. And it's not just for the actual company, but oftentimes the city or the contractor or the company that's contracting with them is the one that really needs to be responsible as well for background checks. So I like the idea. I like that it's electric. I like that and I know these sort of programs do work in other places. I just want to make sure that we're realizing that it's not as simple as just signing up and going and doing it, that there is more to it, and big picture is that you have to be concerned about all of these different issues.
Absolutely, Mayor, and all of those will be addressed in the upcoming presentation. I will say that these are not subcontractors like you have with Lyft or with Uber, where any of us can sign up. These are all private employees of the company. But again, all of this will be addressed in greater detail when it comes back, if that's the will of the commission.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, if I have consensus, that would be.
Consensus to do what?
To move forward with designing the pilot project and then having them bring it back to you for your approval if you are interested in continuing from there.
I say yes.
I say yes.
Okay.
I got to know more about it. I know, but that's all, because I'm still against this thing about putting your kid in it.
The kids don't have to go in it.
And that has to be dropped out, or I wouldn't even vote for it. I'm afraid for the kids. You can't make these kind of decisions with stuff we don't know about. Like I said, I only see them being used for tourists. And what if the person stops and says, I want to ride to the hospital? And the person don't make it in time, they die. Like she's saying, are we liable for it? I want more information. Right.
Okay, so I have consensus, thank you. All right, my next item is
It's
the,
actually my job to read it, but
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Next item, city nickname renaming, Vice Mayor Odman.
another PowerPoint. I know, I really am trying to zip through it, I swear, guys. I know, it's getting all right, the Dania Beach nicknaming options, if any. So, for those of you who don't know, our vision statement, established in history, preparing for tomorrow. And then our older motto or tagline was Broward's first city. And then more recently, we brought in see it, live it, love it. And our official nickname is, did you all know it? Antique Capital of the South. And really, you can find this information anywhere. If you go on our Wikipedia, it shows it right there. It tells the history. It used to be tomato capital of the world, and then we evolved into the antique capital of the South. If you were here earlier, you heard Commissioner Brandemarty tell the story about how really Antique Row is now sort of eBay Row, where a lot of the antique stores are not necessarily open the same hours they used to be, and bustling with antique people buying antiques. It's being sold online. And again, if you search for it, I'm just trying to show that it's still very pervasive, and it's well known still that we are using the nickname the antique capital of the South. And it's in different hotels, when they just tell the story, the little backstory of what is Dania Beach, it's mentioned over and over again. I was looking at some other local nicknames. Aventura, the city of excellence. Coral Gables, the city beautiful. Coral Springs, everything under the sun. Fort Lauderdale, the Venice of America. Destin, the world's luckiest fishing village. Wow. Probably true. Cape Coral, waterfront wonderland. So we have a couple of options. I think that many people would feel that we have outgrown our nickname, and that we are no longer the antique capital of the South. That doesn't really accurately define us as a city anymore. So my request to the commission is some direction as to what you would like to do. One is we would have to ask the city attorney, but I believe we can forego all nickname and let it sort of peter out from social media and other places where it's listed. Second was to task Redline, who did our branding, and ask them to find a more suitable nickname. To task the commission with finding a suitable nickname. Or my thing I liked was putting it out to public contest for renaming. It seemed like a fun, small small town thing to do. And I know sometimes we still like to throw back to that. So the idea was something like we allow submissions on the website. Maybe we get a list of 100 names. Each commissioner could pick their top 5 or 10 favorites. And from there, whichever got consensus could be the winner of renaming our city, unofficially renaming our city. I thought it was a sweet thing, and if you do too, then we can do that. Or if you don't want to do that, just whatever you would like to do. What would the commission like?
First of all, I would ask our city attorney your question about the first item.
Well,
Do we have to have a
I
nickname?
think that it's going to die on its own, it sounds like, from what the vice mayor is saying. Well, the problem is it's still out there, so it's prolific.
But do we
So-
have to have a nickname?
No, that's not needed at all. She's pointing out the other cities, that you do see them when you drive around. It's on their entry signs. And ours is sort of that, become that see it, live it, love it. Maybe that's what it is, or there's a separate one that merges with that. But no, you don't have to worry about the existing one.
Commissioner James?
I'm with the putting it out to the public to hear what they have to say and hear their ideas, and we can all come back. I love that idea the best.
I don't care if we put it out to the public or if we just forego it completely. I kind of think that having a nickname for the city takes away from the logo and the current see it, live it, love it, but, you know, whatever. Marty?
Well, I don't like being known as the Antiques. That's my opinion. And I'm for putting it out to the residents and let them decide. But I don't, what's so proud about knowing that when you know darn well those shops are empty and they're only selling their goods on a computer? And they're never opened on top of that. And not only that, they don't even come out for our Martin Luther King parade. Bam. No, I'm tired of that.
So that's your
So
consensus?
consensus would be, let's put it out and see what we get back.
Good.
Next item, 2020 Census Committee, Vice Mayor Odman.
All right. Last
No,
one,
ma'am.
and then
No, ma'am.
I'll shut it up for the night. Thank you. All right, so maybe 4 weeks ago, Commissioner Harris, City Manager Garcia, and myself, and Director Raquel Williams, we went to attend the Broward 2020, and Eric Brown, yes, I'm sorry, I apologize. And Mark, I'm sorry, my memory's going. All right, several staff came, and we all listened to the 2020 Broward plan for how we're going to get everyone counted. So one of the primary ways that was suggested to get everyone counted was to form a committee. They call it a complete count committee. And these are volunteers that are established for us. It would be by local government and leaders to increase awareness and motivate the residents to respond to the 2020 census. This is, when Linda was talking, I think she touched on that this is the first year where you can do so online. That is a game changer. Success of the census depends on community involvement at every level, and I can't emphasize that enough. You know, at the federal level, they're not going to be doing all of this for us. So a committee that's going to reach out to different areas like those involved in education, media, business, all of our religious leaders, that's going to be huge in the city. Our faith-based leaders and the community groups, the HOA groups, we're going to need you on board to help make this happen, and our library, like we talked about. Most of the local community, the complete count groups, they're small to medium size, depending on jurisdiction, and you can have, for us, it would probably make sense when I was talking to the last person, probably about 10 to 30 members tops. You don't want it to get too big that it's unmanageable, but you don't want it to be so small that you're overwhelming each person, because this is volunteer and this is a marathon, not a sprint. This starts essentially would be starting now and would be going into the 2020 census. Some of the things that the Complete Count Committee does is they educate the community. They get the message out to all the different members of the community, and like I said, the different faith-based groups and the HOA groups. Sometimes doing promotional events, providing information on federally funded programs that have benefited the community. A lot of people don't know that each person counted is about $2,000. So your $2,000, your $2,000, your $2,000, your $2,000. If you're not counted, you are not about $2,000. You are not. And subtract and subtract and subtract. And these are all, what's that? Well, the point being that there is a lot at stake here, and counting each of you is so important because these are monies that are used for funding of programs that benefit us. Yes, go for it.
Based on your information, so we start the count, I think, in April of 2020, and it ends in September of 2020. How soon after the count do we get the results of our population? Do you know?
How soon after the count do you get the results of what the final
population.
population is?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I do know that when you organize the committee, you have access to all the sort of training materials and all the background information so that everyone who's on that committee basically has all these answers because they are ambassadors of all this. To the Broward 2020 census database. They have several resources for us that's really very thorough. So, I mean, there's getting the information out. There's tons of jobs that have been created by this and getting the word out that, you know, if people are looking for jobs, there are jobs available that are paid. And that the immediate formation of this Complete Count Committee starts to ensure that the local households are kept up to date on the various ways that this is going to work. So some people don't know about that it's online or, you know, how this works. So it's getting that information out there. So the benefits, again, just helping the Complete Count Committee, it's going to help ensure that we come as close as possible to getting every single resident. There are areas where it's considered difficult to count areas. We need the leaders in those communities to go out there and to dispel myths that this can affect citizenship, or that if you have a felony that perhaps you can't be counted, or this could mess with anything like that. So getting the correct information out there and having them understand why this is so valuable. This is us when we went to the meeting. I believe that's city manager, myself, and Raquel were up on a table over there. But we really do need to form this committee now. So my request is, we have an old, I believe you sent it to me, Tom, from 2010, what was it? It
was backup material resolution.
The resolution from 2010. So that was done a little bit smaller. It had each commissioner pick one person, appoint one person, and that sort of made up the committee. 10 years down the line, more is at stake, and I think we need to tweak that that resolution. So my request is to work with the city manager to bring you back a new resolution for this count committee, how it would work, and to see if it reflected what you wanted to do and how you wanted to move forward in getting this committee formed and to getting every resident counted.
Commissioner Brandon.
Let's say somebody owns a house here from Canada and they're using it as an Airbnb. How do they count them people? I mean, because one of the questions on it say, if I can remember that many years ago, it said, how many is in your household? Hello, what's the answer to that?
0.
Okay, so if the person, there was somebody said something, there was somebody here from Canada was on something, All right, so does that guy in Canada get our census? Who
No.
gets it? He's the property owner here in Dania.
I think our city attorney might be able to answer that.
It's only for people who are citizens here, so. Residents.
All right, they're for what? Citizens or residents? Which one?
I believe it's citizens.
Citizens?
I don't think it's residents.
So Tom-
I don't know, I really don't know that answer.
I
so.
don't either, and I was wondering, how do they count how many people are in those houses? There's a lot of Airbnbs. Isn't there going to be a lot of mistakes in every single state? Anna, do you know?
May
I think it's actually residents.
I think it's residents, but you know what? Let's circle back and make sure that we give you the correct information.
Yeah.
So this is one of the reasons why having a complete count committee is so important, because there are so many questions and there's so much information that you want to correctly translate to the residents. So that's why you have this committee, so that you have a small group of people who are educated on the topic and who can answer these questions. Because if you go to somebody's door, if you go to one of these HOA meetings where you're getting a bunch of different questions, you want to be able to answer them correctly. So that is one of the primary purposes that those people on that committee would serve. So again, my question is for direction, if I can continue to work with the city manager to bring you back an augmented
Action plan.
resolution based off of the 2010 one that's more appropriate for where we are now.
Because I think when we went to the meeting out at Nova, they mentioned counting the homeless and counting undocumented people
Mhm.
and counting
Yes.
people in place. So if you got an Airbnb and the owner's in Brooklyn, well, the survey is going to go to the owner in Brooklyn, not to
Right.
the resident where the short STR is.
Correct.
So we're going to circle back and answer all those questions, but.
I think that's part of having a committee
Yeah.
to deal with that.
And there's so many questions at the county level that we haven't even thought of yet, so.
So may I proceed with the
Yes,
city
let's
manager?
proceed.
Thank you.
Kudos for you for doing that. Thank you so much.
Next item, STEM grant funding, Commissioner James.
Yes, this will take 2 minutes. When I went to DC in October, not only did I address the issues that were happening with our beach and conversations and pictures with them, I also did the legwork to get mentoring and all type of programs. We passed a resolution, and I had necessary meetings to support that when I went to DC. Here we are. I went with Josh Gabaton. You should have this. I hope everyone has this. I went with Josh Gabaton to CTEC, and they are willing to do a program with us, a summer program with us, and there is funding available for that. So I want to get right on top of this and have our grant writers, with your permission, apply for multiple grants. Other federal agencies include, but not limited to, the National Endowment of the Arts, Department of Defense, Education, Commerce, and Labor. There are a lot of opportunity here, and if we can have a free program for our kids down at a university that's right here in the city of Dania Beach, I think that would be amazing. So I'm seeking consensus to apply for these grants.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Next item, Smith Store Properties, vacant lots, Commissioner James.
Yes, again, I won't be before you long with this item. This is something that I've come to this commission time and time again since 2016. I will always be in favor of doing the right thing with these lots and conveying them. Number one, conveying them to the CRA. I know there's been plenty of dialogue up here. I'm sure there'll be more dialogue up here. And I had a conversation with the city manager, and we spoke at length about a lot of different items, and she did say something that kind of sparked my mind in this direction when she said, let's not invent the wheel. If our CRA is doing housing, maybe our CRA could be the one that's doing housing, and maybe we can kind of divvy up the responsibilities and not all be doing the same exact thing. So I am asking that the Smith Store Properties, along with our other vacant lots in the city, be conveyed to the CRA.
I would like to hold off on making a decision on that until after we have the housing farm. That's all. We could bring it back after that.
Do I have consensus?
Vice Mayor,
When is I'm sorry, I can't find
the 29th.
Is the 29th, so it's in 2 weeks? Okay.
I mean, one has nothing to do with the other.
That's right.
It may, it may. I don't know if it will or not, and I just think it would be better to wait until then and see what options are discussed, and then at that point, if we want to discuss it further, we can bring it back.
If I may.
Commissioner James, why do you feel like it wouldn't, that one wouldn't have anything to do with the other?
Because we already have a housing program. The problem is the other lots aren't deeded to the CRA. When they are deeded to the CRA, we can continue our housing program. Just because we have a forum, let's be very clear, the reason why we're having a forum because some of us on this dais wanted additional information on our current program. It was not to notice the possibilities, but most definitely we haven't even discussed the possibilities of the second round, which number one doesn't all have to be dedicated to housing. There are a lot of different variables. A lot of different of these lots are zoned mixed use or different types of things. That comes back to us for discussion anyway. Giving this to the CRA does not allow us not to be in the driver's seat because we serve as dual boards. And number two, it doesn't mean that we are dedicating every single lot to housing. And so like I said, I've been an advocate of this since 2016. There have been a lot of different discussion about these lots. There have been a lot of politics in discussing about these lots. I do know that again, the mission of the CRA, one of the many missions were to eliminate slum and blight, and I think having a consistent program on a consistent basis that we are in charge of, we can definitely still be innovative, but the groundwork has already been laid. I think there's been multiple workshops. A lot of our residents have already signed up and done the education for the first-time homebuyers program, and so I just think, number one, these lots are in the CRA. And so I think that they should be deeded over to the CRA to do programming that is needed in that area. Vice Mayor.
Commissioner Brandon Marty.
Well, that makes sense to me because they are in the CRA area, and we already know what were proposed for Smith Store property. We already knew that, and we already made a decision on that to the point that one of those homes that would be built there would be given to like a police officer or a fireman or somebody, but with the understanding that he has to live in there. He just can't get it at a decent price and then hit the road, Jack. He has to stay there for X amount of years. And I would be very comfortable with turning these lots over to the CRA because that's what the CRA is about. That's their mission. That's their mission. That's their biggest mission. So I'm all right with that.
And again, I just don't understand what the rush is. I mean, we have this in 2 weeks. I don't see why we can't do the housing forum and then bring it back at the next meeting after that. That's all. I just want to see what's discussed, and then we can bring it back and discuss it at that time. We're kind of in a rush right now. Everybody's rushing through things because it's 10 after 10, and everybody, I think, would like to go home. So I think it would be better if we could discuss this again after we've had the housing forum when everybody is not in a rush and trying to get done. Commissioner James.
All right, so it's 10 after 9. I understand if you guys can't
10.
stay. 10 after 10, sorry. I'm seeking consensus. So do I have consensus or don't I, so we can move on?
Yes. I'm all right with it because
Okay,
of what
thanks.
I said.
Okay, so we can move on to the next thing.
Super Bowl, Commissioner James.
Yes, again, really fast. Super Bowl is approaching. We discussed some things in the CRA. I want to discuss some things here. I've been in touch with Hall of Fame, the University of Miami Hall of Fame coordinator for their fishing tournament. I just wanted to know if that is an area that we wanted to bring here to Dania Beach. I have also asked how much something like this would cost, if we could break even or possibly gain revenue from this, and she shared yes on both of those. I would like to bring her in front of us at a workshop in the future, so maybe we can, there are a lot of questions that she asked me that I just can't answer on my own because I need all of us to make these decisions together, but I do want to know if that is an idea because Super Bowl is right around the corner, and the longer we continue to wait on things, it takes a lot of planning for these things to happen. Excuse me? Oh, and so I just want to know, do you all think it is a great idea to have a fishing tournament? We will do the terms and condition and all those other things. We will have a say in that. I could bring her down and for her to speak to us about all of the concerns and questions, but I would propose that this be done, I don't even know, but that's something that we can workshop and talk about. It was just another idea to add on to our Super Bowl festivities.
Vice Mayor.
To be clear, this is just for you to bring forward more information with whoever this woman is that you're talking about regarding only a fishing tournament.
Yes, only if you guys are okay with doing a fishing tournament. I don't want to waste her time. If you don't want to even go that route, that's fine.
Well, I do, but I need a lot more information
Correct.
about it.
Well,
so
yes, she'll
I don't-
have to give you that.
Right. I mean, does a fishing tournament sound interesting to me? Yes. But if it, costs an arm and a leg and doesn't seem feasible for the city, then no, I'm not interested, so.
Well, I'm not interested if we have to spend any money. I
Right,
asked
right.
her if we could either break even or us gain revenue.
Okay,
The best case scenario is that we gain revenue from it,
Okay.
from it.
I'm interested in hearing more about it, so yes.
Commissioner Harris.
Yeah, bring her. How soon can she come?
I have to contact her.
Okay, bring her tonight. 12 o'clock.
Good, she'll be here. 'Cause you're available.
Commissioner Brandon Marty.
Well, it's not going to cost us anything to listen to her.
No.
But fishing and football, I don't know. We're both
Well, I
getting
mean, it
into
happens
that.
in Super Bowl,
Oh, well, they can go to Malaluca and fish out there. Right behind Betty's house, lots of fishing.
Anything else?
Nope. Thanks.
All right. Consideration of termination of Dania Beach Grill month-to-month lease, City Attorney Ansbro.
At your January 22nd meeting, you'll recall that you authorized the tenant at that time, at the Dania Beach Grill, to stay there on a month-to-month basis. We tried to get them to sign a document that would authorize them to basically extend the old lease, which expired in February, and then proceed on a month-to-month basis. Of course, we know what happened with the unsafe structure declaration, April 11th, and now what we need to do, since it's not likely that they're going to be able to continue tenancy there, if at all, for a long time, if at all, I'm asking that we terminate the formality of the lease. I'll send a letter tomorrow just to tell them it's terminated and to remove the items from the property.
Sure.
Just a motion to do that would be good.
Motion to do whatever Tom just said.
What I said, what he said.
Terminate the lease.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, thank
Anyone
you.
opposed?
Okay.
Commissioner Brandon Marty, did you have something?
Yeah, I'm going to make a comment on that. I'm not his sister.
You're
And
not.
No, I'm not his sister, and I didn't like being referred to that by him up here, and to the point that I really would have thrown him out. Really, I would have. And Anna, when I talked to you about it, you agreed with me that whenever any of us are insulted up here,
Well, it just
if they don't
happens.
know how to be civil insulting like I get, I do, throw them out. I don't have to wait till they shoot me or smack me in the face or spit at me. Throw them out just by their spitting of their bad words. To walk up to this mic, inebriated, and say, "You're my sister." Don't do that to me, because sister will come down there and smack you upside the face.
I'll be there.
And Betty knows I'll do it too.
Okay.
So I'm just telling you right now, I want respect up here, and I'm going to expect the person in power up here to rule the roost. She's right, though, that it wasn't so bad that he had to be taken out, but rule the roost here, because if you don't, I want Anna to do it.
Are
And
those
she
your
would do
commissioner
it.
comments, or do you have more?
No, I want chicken right now.
Okay. So Commissioner Brandon Marty, we're on commission comments. Do you have any comments?
No, we're done.
Commissioner Harris?
First, let me say thanks to all of you I see out there for sticking with us tonight. I know it hasn't been easy. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of information, and I could call many of you by name because I know many of you, but thank you for being here. And this is for you also. There's a hurricane loss and mitigation program that some funding has been available by the state of leftover funds, if you can believe it or not, by Hurricane Irma. It's right here. So I've been in touch with the grant program, and the funds might be released as soon as July. And if, like Les, for example, wants to make his house more hurricane resilient, that you'll be able to apply for some of this grant money and get up to X amount of dollars based on the need that you have. Like, for impact windows or a new roof or strengthening your carport or, you know, what? Okay, well, we'll miss a boat on that one. But, I mean, there's going to be some funds available, and I've been in touch with the grant writer in Tallahassee, and I'm on the mailing list. So when the funds are available, that we'll be able to get some of them. And anybody who's a homeowner will be eligible. And, I mean, it doesn't matter if you need a new front door or hurricane windows. I mean, you're eligible for the grant. There's going to be millions of dollars there. So that's good for everybody. The other thing is I got an invitation, and I'm attending a housing forum in New York City on June the 6th. I got an invitation, so I contacted them. They said, sure, you're invited. Please come. I was already going to be in New York anyway on that day, so I just changed my airline flight to come back a day later so I can go to the forum. So there's 140 people coming from all over the country, and it sounds interesting. The agenda is pretty interesting. I can share it all with you, but anything that we can do to find out more about affordable housing is a good thing. The city manager mentioned a transit study, which I think is in the process with the MPO. It's part of the CSLIP program, the Long Range Transportation Plan, which is the LRTP, and the SIS, which is the Strategic it's hard to say at this point, the Strategic Intermodal System for all the different transportation types and transit funding, which is again going to come with the one penny sales tax initiative that the funds will be released based on the need next year. And this is very technical because it's now in its fourth amended interlocal agreement, which still needs to be approved, and then the funds will come probably April 1st of next year. So we have all of that. So there's many, many other things I could say, but because of the late hour, and I have consideration for all of you out there. Thank you for coming. Thank you for staying, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Commissioner James?
Yes, I just wanted to see, I got an email about a possible Airbnb workshop. And so I wanted to know if we can come up with a date, because the dates that were given to me kind of shifted, and so my availability shifted as well. So if we're looking to do this Airbnb workshop, we need a date and time. I know that the manager was looking for our availability, and we have to see the availability of Mr. Benser, right? Okay, so we can still wait for. He doesn't have to necessarily be here, but we'll make sure that he can get us by phone. So
I think, well, Chris just sent out another email late in the day
yeah,
today.
she did, but they keep going back and forth because she said, okay, well, this one can make it, so we're all here right now. And so if you want to come back at the next meeting and give a date, that because it's late, let's do that. If you want to come back at the next meeting and I'll have a
That's
date.
fine.
But
or if it might get resolved by tomorrow. I mean, I think just, you know, we are late in the hour here. We still have 2 more people that might have comments. We have appointments to do and reports.
So nobody wants to do okay.
Let's see what happens with tomorrow.
Okay.
And if not, we can bring it up again.
And just want to remind everyone about Friends and Family Day that is happening on Saturday at C.W. Thomas Park. I believe it starts at 11, is it? At 11 o'clock. I'll see you all there. Thank you for staying.
Vice Mayor?
I'll keep it real quick as well because it's getting so late. And I do really want to thank you for staying till the very end. I just quickly want to say, for those of you who are disappointed in my decisions, I hope that doesn't ever preclude you from thinking that I wouldn't want you to reach out to me, and that I'm still not somebody who wants to help you, and that just because you don't like some of my decisions, there may not be a few that you end up liking. So I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I hope that you will continue to reach out to me, and I think that you will find that regardless of how far apart we are on one issue, on something else we could find ourselves a little bit closer. So don't lose my number or email. Have a great night.
Again, thank you all for staying so late. I know some of you aren't normally here on a regular basis, so yeah, I hope you don't think that our meetings always go this long, because they don't. I did have a lot of things that I wanted to talk about tonight, but since it's late, I'm going to skip through it. The one thing I do want to talk about is the Tallahassee trip, as far as one thing in particular. It was a very busy two days. Commissioner Harris can speak to the same thing as Kansas City manager. I don't think we got more than maybe 10 minutes, except when we were waiting for Representative Geller. Other than that, we really didn't have much time. But I did want to talk about the DEP meeting real quick. We met with the Department of Environmental Protection. There were probably a dozen department heads there, some of the brightest minds in environmental science that talked to us for quite a while. We discussed with them some of the thoughts about the beach and some of the things that we were talking about with the parks plan. And they were very, very pleased that we were thinking outside the box. And based upon that, they were much more open to future endeavors and potentially helping us with some funding for the beach, for the parks, for a number of different things. So that was, I thought, was very, very important and really helped a lot. For those that missed it, we did go through Fleet Week, by the way. There were a number of Coast Guard, Navy officers and whatnot, a lot of different events that took place. It was good to see a lot of the sailors that were here and doing a lot of, they were really enjoying themselves, and they were a number that came to Dania Beach, and I'm glad that it's still going on and that we get to host them when they do come here. Let's see. The organization that was here for the month of April every Saturday and came to the Southwest Community Center, and there was the Women's Heart and Breast Alliance, I think it was. They were here every Saturday, 3 Saturdays in a row in April, and they went and knocked on doors. They got a whole bunch of information. Educated women on breast cancer, early detection, things like that, as well as heart disease. I got a final report from the people who put this on. They visited 1,382 households, 420 residents opened the door, 355 received educational packages. They had 131 volunteers over 3 weeks. And on the fourth week, they did free screening and mammograms for people who pre-qualified. I posted about this on Facebook, but they did have a nice turnout. There were some people that actually walked in that hadn't been pre-screened that had some questions, and they were able to actually help them out as well. Let's see. Also went to Olson Middle School for their annual tea, which was, it's basically, for those who don't know it, they teach young women about etiquette and that sort of thing. And they do a fashion show, and it was very empowering for these young women. They really were very encouraged and tearful at times telling their stories, but it was a wonderful, wonderful experience to see what they're doing. The last thing is, I just had a meeting this week with the Broward Traffic, can't remember the name of the actual group, but the MPO was also there, and they discussed the ramp signals for I-95 that are going to be put in all along I-95 in Broward and Palm Beach County. Dania Beach is the last on the list, but it has to do with the timing of when they're putting in express lanes. So as express lanes are put in, that's where they're going to be doing this. Dania Beach is slated to start getting all of this in 2024. I picked up some informational handouts if anybody wants them on the dais or anywhere else. Here, just pass them down.
Yeah,
send a couple that way. And it just gives you the different exits off of the highway that are, it's basically every exit from all the way up to like Lake Worth and into Palm Beach County. And they're going to be continuing to go up the highway as well. But for now, that's where they're going. Other than that, I hope everybody had a wonderful Mother's Day, and I'm done with my comments. Now we have appointments. Airport Advisory Board. Commissioner Harris, Commissioner James.
No. Yes, I have Lawrence. I have that one. Go ahead, tell the information.
Sonia Broom, 426 Southeast 3rd Terrace.
Yes, it's for mine, for the record.
Here, can I just pass it down to you?
Yes, that'll be fine. I also have a copy of it, so thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Harris, do you have anybody?
I have somebody on one of the forms named Sheila McRae. She's applied for many boards, but maybe she would like to have the airport, so we can offer it to her as an appointment.
But she didn't put that one.
She didn't put airport.
She picked everything else but that.
Are you going to put her on that one?
Let's ask her. I mean, volunteers are hard to...
That poor lady.
Okay.
That the one with the husband?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay. That it? Okay. Dania Beach Housing Authority, these are my appointments. I would like to reappoint Bob Adams, and I'd also like to appoint Derek Hankerson. and I hear groans, so I'm going to say something just briefly. The reason why I think that these two individuals should be on there is because the Saratoga project is wrapping up. Both of these individuals were involved on the board from the very beginning of this project, and I think that it's very important that the people who were on the board at the time that this project started were involved in getting the whole thing taken care of and getting it moving forward, should also be there at the end. Education Advisory Board, Vice Mayor Odman?
No.
Okay. General Employees Pension Board, I have a suggestion for this, if nobody else has anybody. I'd like to recommend Scott Clark, who we put on the Fire and Police Pension Board, and I have heard all good things about his work on the Police and Fire Pension Board. And I know that he is interested in doing the General Employees Pension Board as well. Does anybody have anybody else they want to suggest? No? Okay. Parks, Recreation, Community Affairs Advisory Board. I do not have somebody for that. Commissioner Harris, Vice Mayor.
I have Sharon, and then I'll pass that down. I can't say the last name, and I don't want to butcher it. Sheila McCrae, but you already stole her for the airplane board. She's going to be disappointed.
You can put her on both.
Let's offer that one as well.
She indicated interest in the Parks and Rec
All
Board.
right.
So,
Well, she
yes.
got more than she bargained for tonight. Sign her on up. Do you have that, or do you need me to pass it down? Thank you very much.
Okay, and then the Police and Fire Pension Board, confirm appointment of Carolyn Jones as a 9th member of the board as chosen by the majority of the members. Do we have a motion to approve?
I have discussion.
Okay, Commissioner James?
Thanks. I have discussion about the Dania Beach Housing Authority boards and why I will not be supporting those appointments. I understand that those members were a part of what sparked a great project here in Dania Beach, a very needed project here in Dania Beach. However, if we are appointing people based on the completion of a project, none of us will be elected because we have reaped the benefits of a lot of people who have laid the groundwork and who have done the work. When I look back over the Dania Beach Housing Authority, I have a lot of issues with the Dania Beach Housing Authority, and I'll tell you why. I have had many residents continue, even to last month, explain to me about the lack of service that they receive, the lack of respect that they receive, the amount of retaliation that they receive when speaking up for something. I can't count on any fingers or any toes a current program that they have offered our residents in the many years that they've been here about repairing credit, how to save, how to get off of housing, because it is my vision that one day none of our residents will need housing, none of our residents will need government assistance. However, if the same people that have been on this board have been complicit in standing up for these residents who come crying, who have disabled children and get no consideration, who have not really educated our residents in that community, and we clearly just have at least one person who is Ivy Cure, who is not only a member of that direct community, but also personally can understand the many issues that have been there, and I've spoken to her, and her along with Commissioner Grace, who was here, I'm sure, I keep calling her Commissioner Grace, Ms. Grace, who was here, have expressed great interest in being on this board, who has a lot of wealth and knowledge and understanding and housing and gentrification and what's going on and where our city's going. And so I would just like to make sure that we are appointing people who have made a difference other than approving a project and being proud of a project, but who actually does this on a daily basis, who really serves our residents. So I'm okay with all the other appointments. I am not okay with those two.
Well, before we go any further with this, can we, number one, can we move to approve all of the other appointments other than the ones under number 2? And then we will come back and discuss it.
Sure. I make a motion to approve all appointments except 12.2, with the exception of 12.2.
Is there a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Okay. No one opposed. I'll let Commissioner Brandon Marty speak. Go ahead.
I believe, too, that it's time for change on the Housing Authority. It really is. And I disagree with number 2.
Okay. First of all, I'm just going to ask each of you, when is the last time that you went to a Housing Authority board meeting?
I served on it.
Wait.
Okay.
I'll start with you. Well, you're the one who has the biggest objection to it, so.
Oh, sure. I haven't been there because I don't feel welcome there, number one. I used to go there with the residents and sit in the actual meetings, but I have been in contact with board members as well as residents. Today, yesterday, last week, last month, every month.
Okay. Commissioner Harris, have you ever been to a Housing Authority board meeting?
No, I have not.
Okay. Commissioner Brandon Marty, when's the last time you were at a Housing Authority board meeting?
When I got off the Housing Authority.
Which was when?
A few years.
Okay. Vice Mayor, have you been?
No, I've only spoken with residents recently who shared their feelings about the upcoming appointments.
Okay. I was at the meeting last night. I was at the meeting 2 or 3 months ago. I've been at probably half a dozen, 6, 7, 8 meetings over the last year, sitting in with the residents, speaking with the residents that have been there, also seeing what the board members are doing. These are the mayor's appointments. They come up, and in general, when a mayor makes appointments like these, they are generally approved without an effort. It makes me feel that the decision to be against these appointments has more to do with either politics or personalities and has nothing to do with the actual qualifications of the individuals that are on the board. I can tell you that every meeting I've been to, recent and older meetings, in particular the chair, Mr. Adams, has been professional and has done the work and has, if he's given an assignment, he gets it done. He keeps order and does a good job with it. Mr. Hankerson, who was removed previously by the former mayor and replaced with somebody else, nobody gave you a hard time about that when you did that. And because it's a respectful thing to do, basically. And I have seen Mr. Hankerson do his job as a board member. I have also, I'm also aware that he has continued to keep an interest in the Housing Authority and has continued to ask questions, get involved. If he has seen something that he questioned or he had a problem with, he has contacted the board about it. So I know that he's still very much interested in this. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with reappointing the current chair, who's been there for quite some time and has actually said he only wants to be on for one more term. He just wants to see Saratoga through. And bringing back Mr. Hankerson for this particular purpose, not only because he was there when this whole thing started, but also because he did a really good job when he was there. He's reported back, again, same thing. Given an assignment to do, he's done it. I can't say that for all the other commissioners. From my understanding, from what I have seen, that has not always been the case. But regardless of that, my primary reason is because I want to see this through the way that it should be. So, Commissioner James.
Yes, just for a little bit of clarification, when Commissioner Gray sat on this board, she did not vote with the appointments. So if you reach back a little more versus just the one appointment that I made or the two appointments that I made, there have been times where there was not a unanimous decision or a feeling about something. When I was on the board, when I was the mayor, I felt the same exact way as I feel right now. And that's why I replaced the people that were there. when you talk about doing all these really good things, I just want to hear of the programs that we're offering our residents, or these things, or these educational resources that are there. There are none, because none have been named. None were named when they came to us the first time for the loan amount. None are being named today. I want to get the people who will serve these communities and the people the best way. I've gotten a lot of information, even from board member Ivy Cure, who's sitting right there, as well as Tamora Brown, who's sitting right there, of the other things, of the things that are not so nice, that are not being discussed up here, and I would rather not take it there. That's my feeling, is that the people that have been here have not serviced our residents. It is nothing personal. I've never had one conversation with Mr. Adams. Not one. I've never had one conversation with Mr. Hankerson. Not one. So to say this is personal or political, I don't know what political gain I would have from this, other than assuring that we are appointing people who do the best job for our residents.
Commissioner Ranamati?
Yeah. You know, it's admirable that you went to these meetings, so many of them, and you saw, you know, how it follows through, how great they do, stuff like that. But you know what I saw? I saw a bunch of ladies come in here crying. I saw a bunch of ladies in here with children, all complaining. I've heard horrendous stories of how they had to live with what they lived with. Over there, it was constant roaches, but to me, roaches will never be killed anyway, even in the new building. So, but it's nice that they run their meetings good. I just think it's time for change over there. And I think that you've been an asset over there, and I'd want you back there again, Ivy, I really do. And I have nothing against anybody over there. I just think it's time for change, just like we do on the commission. It's time for change. And that's why I'm not for the two that are selected here.
Just to respond to actually a couple of the comments. Number one, I did go back and look, and there was only one set of appointments that was not unanimously approved. One. And I didn't say all of them were, but I said the majority of them were. As far as the comments that were made in the past, we know that was a long time ago that those allegations were being made, and since that time, I don't think I've heard a single thing about that. I've been there. I've been following up. I've spoken to the residents who sit in the audience, who actually come to the meetings, and the residents were very pleased with everything that was going on. They didn't, and this is before I was elected. I was having conversations with the residents that were there, and they were very happy with what was going on, and quite a number of them are coming back. They get the right of first refusal when they're with the new Saratoga housing, and they will be coming back. So as long as they haven't had any issues, but the bottom line is this is clearly a political decision. That's what it is. It's a personal issue. It's I know that that the commissioner would like to make sure that she has the appointments, but right now they're my appointments, and there's no reason, there is nothing that's been done that was inappropriate by either one of these individuals that would qualify either one of them to not be appointed to this board. Commissioner Harris.
I would like to go with the two names that are listed here because they have expressed the willingness to serve. And I think in this day and age when it's hard to find people to serve, that those that are willing, whether it be on the Recs board, I see Eric nodding his head over there, or any other kind of board, the willingness to serve is important. So, let them serve. I mean, I know them both, and they're fine individuals, and they want to serve, and that's the key to me, that they want to serve. So, yes, let's move on.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
No.
I'm unclear. So you're saying for
With the two that are
Ivy
listed
Cure?
here. Yeah, and Bob. If they want to serve, let them continue serving.
Did you want to speak first, Mayor?
You can go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
I've heard Ms. Ivy Kier speak, and I know her passion for this board, and I'm conflicted between wanting to support my mayor and her wisdom and her decisions. But at the same time, I also see value in what Commissioner Harris has said, that these are two people that have served well, have served the board well, and are asking to continue to serve. So I would like to keep those two names as well.
And my only comment to that is there are additional appointments that are coming up within the next year or so. There is a potential that we could, that I might be interested in bringing back Ms. Cure at that time. At this point, though, based upon the things that I said before, I would like to put these two individuals on there so that they are there when Saratoga opens in September and October.
So what do we do? Do we make a motion or what? I mean,
It might be best to just nominate one
at a time?
One at a time, Mayor,
Okay,
and then
good.
see where the vote goes.
Sure.
Again, under the statute, the Florida statute, it is a mayor appointment, but it needs to be ratified by the commission.
Correct. So I'll start with Bob Adams. I would like to reappoint him. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandemart,
No.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Nope.
Vice Mayor Odman,
Yes.
Mayor Llewellyn.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-2.
Second appointment would be Derek Hankerson. I'll move to appoint Derek Hankerson. Do I have a second? Okay. Well, we'll leave it as it is right now because I do not have another person that I'm going to nominate at this point.
So what is this thing?
So only.
We'll address it. It'll come up at the next meeting.
I thought we were taking each person.
I thought we were doing two names.
Yeah, that's.
Well, I'm not, but it's my appointments, and I'm not appointing somebody else at this point. Okay? All right, so administrative report. City manager?
Yes, good evening. In light of the time, I'm going to be really brief. My manager's report is online, and we're doing a lot of things internally for our internal clients, our employee, and externally citywide for all our residents. With that said, I wanted to come back with some key information that all of you had asked for, and specifically Commissioner Brandemart had asked. So I met with the Broward Sheriff's Office, the Department of Fire Rescue, and our emergency services, and I wanted to bring you some very specific information in regards to Call of Duty. I'm sorry, it's a little late, guys. I haven't eaten. The calls for services since Dania Point opened up. So the Department of Fire Rescue and Emergency Services, we've had an increase of 101 calls. In regards to the Broward Sheriff's Office, working very closely with Chief Marks, we met and we've discussed the increase in number of calls for service for Broward Sheriff's Office. So the calls during the last 6 months of 2018 going from 61 to 149. Those were the last 6 months of 2018. Additionally, calls for service climbed to 302 during the first 3 months of 2019. So there has been an increased calls for service in all areas of our first responders. So we have a meeting scheduled to discuss concurrency based on the discussions that we've had with Chief Holness and Chief Busenberry and Chief Fernandez. Additionally, we will have that discussion based on all the data and all the information that we've received from Chief Marks. Yes, all this should have been included in your agenda. Yes, you have all the backup, yes, all the statistics, and these are factual numbers. So you have that information from both fire and from Broward Sheriff's for Police. Basically, we will be reaching out to you to get confirmation on these dates that we want to bring forward to discuss the Airbnbs, and we'll continue to bring you the information on all the projects. We're going to start a quarterly projects information here, so all our residents can hear where we're at, the status and the timeline of all the projects that are going on citywide. Additionally, we are going to be coming back with some of your comments on the Parks Master Plan, and we're looking for a July date. We'll meet one-on-one with you to go over the details, so that's coming forward. And what I'll do is some of these things that were not discussed today, I'll bring them forward to the next commission meeting in light of the time. That concludes my report.
City Attorney?
Okay, finally, and at long last, the cities, all the cities that are served by the Florida East Coast Railway, there will now be, starting May 18th, a 24-hour quiet zone for the whistles. This doesn't mean that the trains, like the Brightline and the freight trains, won't sound the whistle if they see somebody near the tracks, like a car or a person. They will still do that. And the engineer has the operation to do that. But a quiet zone is supposed to take place for all the cities, FEC Railway, May 18th, which is very good news.
Can I just add something? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but for those who don't know, I just found this out yesterday when I was at the meeting with the traffic people. There is a ribbon cutting on May 20th for the quiet zone. You got it? Okay. In Hollywood for the quiet zone. So if anybody wants to go, it's at 9:30 in the morning. Commissioner has copies of the information, so if you want to go, feel free to attend. Anyway, go ahead.
And Raquel, you didn't mention about the registration of the trademark, right? In the CRA meeting before? Well, I can mention it here just now. She was successful, and we worked together to get the trademark registered for the See It, Live It, Love It, so it's now protected. People can't use it without running afoul of the law. Federal trademark. That's all I've got.
Okay. City Clerk, reminders?
Upcoming meeting reminder, Tuesday, May 28th at 7 p.m. the City Commission meeting. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. With that, we're adjourned. Finally.